I can't predict if the end times are upon us.
Yeah.
But I can certainly say it feels that way.
I think so as well.
With the past week of news, I mean, Cory Booker's filibuster feels like a distant memory at this point.
Oh my God, I know.
You know what I mean?
Even like when it was happening, it was kind of like right before Liberation Day, right?
Yeah, right before Liberation Day.
Right before Liberation, it immediately overshadowed.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's so awful.
Yeah, the tariffs, which we will talk about extensively this episode, have been real bad. And, as we talk about these tariffs, we'll be breaking down like the economic and political arguments for them.
Yeah.
But I'd be remiss if we didn't take a moment to laugh at the people offering just insane justifications or, excuses for their implementation.
The insane amounts of right-wing cope, if you will.
Yes. Yeah.
Because these guys don't believe in anything.
Yeah, we won't really be talking about this kind of guy today.
Yeah.
So I want to take this cold open to just look at two examples of people with extreme cope trying to convince us that this is completely normal.
Well, it is.
And this first one here is a tweet from the Quarterink, a.k.a. the Quarter Pounder. We haven't talked about him since he was just glazing the life out of Elon Musk a few years ago.
That's right.
So we're bringing him back to the forefront because he had an absolute banger tweet. This is what the Quarterink said. He said, quote, "You do not need the new iPad. You do not need the new cell phone. You do not need the new video game console. You want them. There is a big difference, and if you look at the people whining about tariffs, I challenge you to ask them how their lives have been affected in any way."
But this is crazy. I had also seen a lot of tweets showing how in like 2022 he was tweeting "you will own nothing and be happy" as like that's what the Biden administration is telling consumers as a result of like the COVID inflation that was happening and just like the bitching that was going on back then and how conservatives responded to it. But man, this is just a new low. I love this angle that conservatives who want to defend the tariffs have seemed to take, where they only hyper focus on how tariffs are raising the price of like I guess non-necessities like, I don't know, electronics, hobby items, things like that, and saying that that's the only thing that people are complaining about, as if people aren't also complaining about like food, clothing, everything else, clothing that's like all made in Bangladesh and Vietnam.
Like I've been told for all of my adult life that communism is when no iPhone.
Yep.
And now suddenly Trump's America is when no iPhone.
It's crazy.
And also somebody might need a new cell phone.
No, I'm saying,
like we know that Apple products have like planned obsolescence.
Yeah.
So somebody might need a new cell phone.
Actually, in the modern world, you kind of maybe do need a new phone every once in a while. No, you do need to upgrade every year, but that's not what's happening.
And he's saying, tell me anybody in your life that's actually been affected in any real way. It's like, dog, it just happened.
Yeah.
Like it literally just happened. But the second example is from one of my favorite content creators on the right wing. That's Benny Johnson.
Benny Johnson. We don't talk about Benny Johnson enough.
Benny Johnson, sort of in like the Ben Shapiro, Matt Walsh kind of circle. He's not a Daily Wire guy, but he's sort of in that orbit. Formerly worked at BuzzFeed.
He worked at BuzzFeed?
He worked at BuzzFeed. I think, this is me saying I think, so you can't sue me. Yeah. I think he got fired from BuzzFeed for plagiarism. Like, and if you got to plagiarize BuzzFeed articles, I mean, come on. One of the articles he wrote was about the 8 hottest bachelors in DC. And it was about dudes, of course. And, no shade. Absolutely no shade. But, like, you just kind of recognize the political angle that you're working. Anyways, Benny Johnson had a sort of a video, really, where he was just very it seemed like he was going to cry. We're not going to watch the video here, but he had a lot of copium in that, like, 4-minute video that he posted.
Johnson, famous for just whining. Every time I see him, he's whining or he's tweeting something that can't stop winning.
Yeah. But instead of watching the whole video, because I don't want to give him that amount of time on this show, I want to just read the caption that it came along with on Twitter. Benny Johnson said, quote, "Losing money means nothing. Digital ones and zeros. In the end, you won't miss any of it. Losing your country costs you everything. You will never get that back. Your kids will be slaves to foreign powers who hate us."
Losing money means nothing. If Joe Biden said that, I can't say the things that conservatives would do to him. Like,
yeah.
Oh my God. If Joy Reid said that, it'd be over.
Yeah.
Like, it'd straight up be over. It would be all over every single hour of Fox News. Losing money means nothing. Losing money means nothing.
Yeah, in the little video that he posted, he said something like, "Losing money costs you nothing. You lost a bunch of money when you were in your 20s, like doing stupid things." And it's like, brother, first of all,
I did the stupid things.
Well, I did the stupid things.
The stupid things weren't imposed on me.
It wasn't a president like tanking the national economy.
Yeah.
And losing money, like, definitionally costs you money.
And it's like, when I lose money in my 20s, it's because, I don't know, I spent too much money at the bar or out to eat with my friends, and I had a good time.
Yeah.
When I'm losing money because Trump told me to lose money, that just gets eaten up.
Because Trump across the board raised prices on everything I consume.
Every single thing. Every single thing. Oh my God.
Later on in the video, he gets into how he's basically showing images of West Virginia and the factories that are now abandoned, sort of common image across the Rust Belt in the United States. And he of course blames immigrants or liberals or whatever.
Yeah.
And the culprit is capital.
It's neoliberalism.
Capital left.
Capital flu, if you will.
And Trump's cabinet is stacked with billionaires.
Yeah.
Stacked with capitalists that probably at the time ushered through exactly what we're seeing right now.
Quite literally probably made money off of all that.
Yeah, almost certainly.
More money than God, really.
Yeah, so that's some cope for you to start the episode.
That is cope. And man, I also just love, just as a teaser of just what's to come when we really dive into tariffs, I love the argument now that they're trying to say that, oh, look, oil futures are down, gas prices are going to be lower. Recession indicator. Not even the meme. That's a recession indicator. That's literally a recession indicator.
Well, also, I think oil was exempt from the tariffs, the latest tariffs.
Yeah, but oil futures are down because people are predicting that there's going to be a recession, so there's going to be less demand, so people will be traveling around more. People won't be driving around as much because they won't be able to because there's less things to buy.
I said this before the show started, but if I walk into my corner store on Monday, tomorrow for me, and I see that all the Campbell's chicken noodle soup is gone, that's my depression indicator.
Well, Mark Cuban, I saw a Business Insider headline before we started recording the show. Mark Cuban said to stock up on essentials. He said to stock up on shit like toothpaste and shampoo before suppliers have to restock with the new tariff prices. And it's brother, when you've created a situation in the country where the people whose basements are filled with cereal boxes that they've accumulated over the last 5 years and non-perishables, just canned fruits and vegetables, and they're the ones that are winning now, they've been reinforced in their thinking. I think we lost.
Yeah.
I think we just lost bigly.
Yeah, and again, we're going to get through all the arguments, but another big thing I've been seeing is capitalism has booms and busts. This is just how the market goes, and it's dog, we shouldn't be deliberately causing a bust.
I was going to say, that's because bubbles burst. That's because investments come in and then things aren't really predicated on realness. And then eventually people realize that the investments aren't as sound as they were. And then it busts a little bit. Then we rebuild. This is some guy saying, I'm just going to make everything more expensive.
Yeah, imagine purposefully triggering the 2008 housing recession.
Yeah.
On purpose doing that. People would say that you're fucking... People died, right? People lost their homes and people died. People will die during a depression if that's where we get to again. Who knows? Again, I can't predict the future.
Of course, yeah.
I'm not an oracle or anything, but geez.
Well, I am.
Oh, what's going to happen?
It's going to be a depression. We're heading into a recession. It's crazy.
Oof. Welcome back to the show, everybody.
Welcome back to the show.
Unlike everywhere else in the economy, this show is not tariffed.
This show's booming.
So we're coming at you at the same rates.
Yeah, actually, Patreon's being tariffed like crazy. Y'all didn't see it on the chart, but Head in the Office Patreon was at the bottom. He's tariffing us 200%, so we've got to pass that on to consumers.
Again, we're going to get into the details later. Services were excluded, though, from the tariffs.
Oh.
It was only goods, physical goods that we import and export and stuff like that. So I wonder, I don't know if Patreon's stationed in the U.S., but if it isn't, and then services get taxed or tariffed, we would get it with a tariff. But for right now...
We might, actually, for his purses.
For right now, we are excluded from the tariff, and therefore, you early listeners are not getting your prices raised. Wouldn't
that be diabolical?
Yeah.
Not only have they come for my trinkets, but they might come for your listening.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Your gospel, and that's how you know we're in a bad place.
Oh my God, man. We're going to be like, what's that preacher that was lock the doors. We're collecting $40,000. None of you are leaving until we collect $40,000.
That's us.
That's us.
Anyways, welcome back to the show, everybody. Thank you for tuning in once again and not, locking yourself in a bunker and cutting yourself off from the world.
Exactly.
If you want to support the show and get early access to all of our episodes, you can do that at patreon.com/headintheofficepod. I'll remind all of our patrons, $5 tier and up, that we are cooking up the next series, the next installment in our postcard series.
Yes, we are.
So make sure you sign up if you have not already. We just got done today ordering the postcards that we're going to be sending out.
We're ordering the raw materials that go into it. We're ordering the inputs.
That will be sent out at the end of this month, beginning of next month. So make sure you're in there. Also, we are holding our community art contest still. This form closes on April 11th. That's Friday of this week.
Ooh.
So make sure you get in there and submit. We've already got some pretty cool submissions. And then after that point, on our next episode, we'll announce the voting form, and you all can get in there and vote for your favorites.
Pretty good.
And see who will be immortalized forever.
Forever.
In the Hiddo studio. So that's pretty good. Also, a bunch of ways to support the show in the description. You can all find them, join the Discord and whatnot.
Follow us on other social medias. TikTok apparently isn't getting banned on the 5th like it was supposed to. It got extended another 75 days.
Good news for us.
So that's cool.
Good news for us, for sure. Before we get into our 5-star reviews, though, we do have an announcement to make.
We got a pretty big announcement, folks. It's actually quite large.
Yeah, we got a pretty big announcement to make. So we are announcing today that we are teaming up with the folks over at Distill Social. They're a media group out of Michigan that focuses like specifically on political content in the state of Michigan. We're going to be partnering up with them to produce a whole bunch more content, and that's going to allow us, folks, to go full time with the pod.
Y'all been begging. There's a lot of news that's been happening, and even this week I'm sitting there like, oh my god, there's the tariffs, there's this deportation stuff, there's the Senate just approved some budget like framework going on, but we're not talking about that shit. I did not have time to read about that this week, but soon I will.
Yeah, exactly. And to be clear, this isn't like a buyout or anything like that. We're still going to be doing the same thing. For the purposes of you as an audience member, this will just mean more content. We are looking at 2 episodes a week starting in May.
And we do want your input when it comes to how we're going to like go about the 2-episode-a-week schedule.
Yeah.
I don't want to record on Sundays anymore. I love the Sunday sermon. I love the Sunday supremacists, but we might have to be the Monday meanies now. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, we're thinking of moving to like a Monday record, Wednesday drop, Thursday record, Friday drop type schedule. Let us know what you think in the comments. Of course, this is all subject to change, but this new partnership will begin at the beginning of May, the first full week of May. Yeah. And that's when we'll start producing a whole lot more content.
And just to
folks.
Be like abundantly clear, we're not being editorialized. Yeah. Like again, it's a partnership. We're providing a service to them. We're going to be helping them produce some content and some other things like that, while Hiddo, head in the office, remains entirely independent of what's going on over there. So we still have full control over everything we do right here.
Yeah.
Still the content we bring.
Still independent media over here, but we will leave links in the description if you want to go check out Distill Social.
It's pretty good.
They've got a pretty big Instagram page and TikTok and stuff like that. They do all kinds of cool stuff, going to rallies, going to protests, and stuff like that. They've got a pretty good operation over there. Mm-hmm. Also, we've been on the Point of Disorder podcast before.
We have. You better have checked it out.
We've been on that podcast twice, and they've been producing a lot of stuff with like state figures in the state of Michigan lately. And if you're interested in that, check it out. We also will be focusing on like Michigan state politics more specifically too.
Yeah, we have more time, so it's not like it's going to take away from the federal news that we know and love, and also other state news that we love to talk about. But yeah, we're going to be talking a little more about Michigan stuff, getting more involved in like, I guess, the Michigan political community. Yeah. Doing real things, putting our money where our mouth is. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Actually trying to make a change in the state we live at, since state and local politics are becoming increasingly more important as every federal program is gutted.
Well, once the national divorce happens, it'll be really important.
Exactly.
After the U.S. balkanizes and Michigan is its own country itself.
We need to make sure we have the resources to monopolize the fresh water from the Great Lakes.
Exactly.
We're not giving any of it to Wisconsin. It's ours. It's Lake Michigan, not Lake Wisconsin, not Lake Ohio. It's Lake Michigan.
Yeah. So special thank you, of course, to Distill for reaching out to us and making this possible, and special thanks to you all.
It really is kind of a dream come true.
Yeah.
As corny as that sounds. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so let us know your input, and of course, not a ton changes for you right now. Patrons will still be getting early access. Postcards will still be going out. We'll still be posting all of our stuff over on Patreon first and foremost, but the schedule is going to change a little bit. Yeah. We got a couple weeks to figure that out, but
come the first week in May. Starting with episode 200, that's going to be the first. It just kind of worked out like that. That will be the first episode in the 2 episodes of Hiddo a week format.
Yeah, and we are looking at moving the studio potentially.
Yes.
And if that happens, folks, in the description of our Patreon for a long time has been, if you join, you can maybe help the boys escape Gage's basement. And that might be happening.
You will be a part of the small list of people that helped us actually escape my mom's basement.
Yeah.
Once we move out the basement, you can never help with that again.
Exactly.
You're just helping like maintain that. You know what I mean? Yeah. But there's a small group of like 300 of you that have actually helped us get out of the basement.
Yeah, and we are eternally grateful. We couldn't have done it this long without you folks.
It's pretty good. And
thank you all for being here.
The way this has all been timed, we'll be able to debut the Hiddo art contest winner in the new studio.
It's auspicious, really.
Truly.
Feels like there was an amount of divine intervention.
Damn near, let me tell you. Never thought I'd be in this position in my entire life, but
yeah.
How else can we support the show? How else can you all support the show?
Oh, very simply. By
Very
leaving
simply.
a 5-star review on Apple.
5-star
And we
reviews
got a
that will
bunch to
remain
read.
to be important, let me tell you.
Yeah, the Hiddo formula really not changing all that much, just doing more of
Just
it.
more.
Just
doubling,
more.
really.
Yeah. That means we can complain twice in 1 week about no Apple reviews.
Now you really need to keep them coming, folks.
This week, we are not justified in any complaints because we have a bunch to read today. So, this first one from Terrible Coin 9, Loving Hiddo from White Liberal Bubble, Seattle, Washington. They say, first of all, I condemn Hamas and all forms of political violence by any stretch of the imagination. I am from the White Liberal Bubble city of Seattle, and despite legacy media portraying it as a liberal safe haven, it still has a swath of neoliberal problems in the communities I am surrounded by, have fallen for most talking points to the point of becoming cringe, uninvolved centrists. Thanks to this podcast, I have become known within my circle as the political guy, and have been urging everyone around me that everything is political. May these boys never be cease and desisted by the deep state. Thank you for that review.
Wouldn't that be nice? This next one by Jackson Franklin. Running for Congress, my #1 favorite political podcast. Hey guys, I'm Jackson Franklin. I'm from Indiana, and I'm running for Congress as a grassroots progressive in Indiana's 5th District, trying to be the AOC of Indiana. Much luck to you. And I've been a listener for the show for about 2 years now, and I say this is the #1 news source on the planet, hands down. Wholeheartedly agree over here. You might have seen the joke that was Representative Victoria Spartz's town hall a couple weeks ago, and I'm sure if the price of eggs weren't so high, there would have been many thrown. She's a comic book villain, and I look forward to replacing her in 2026. Keep spreading the good word and give my campaign site a look. JacksonFranklinForCongress.com.
Did we just run an ad?
I think so.
A free ad? Might have to charge you for that.
I'm about to invoice you.
We can endorse people. Well, because corporations are people.
Yes.
Hiddo Media is an LLC.
That's true.
So we're 2 people and we're 1 person.
We're going to start benefiting from Citizens United soon.
Once we get these capital inflows, it's over. This next one from Elo Nico. We didn't read this one last week, did we? Elo Nico has been my #1 pod for 2 years now.
I don't think so.
Okay. I left a review exactly 2 years ago in 1 day, 2 years and 1 day ago, and I noticed some things were missing. I had not condemned Hamas nor political violence. It's been eating at my conscience since, and I felt it important to clarify my condemnation of these bad things that are bad. I've been listening since you guys covered the time that Tucker Carlson said that Viagra was a treatment for COVID. Episode 27, and joined as a patron in November.
Episode 27 came with receipts.
Yeah. To all the Wednesday weenies, I'm not exaggerating when I say this. Getting Hiddo on Sunday or Monday this week is an absolute game changer and makes it much more enjoyable. If you have a couple of bucks to spare, I highly recommend it. Go white boys, go.
Let's go.
Elo Nico.
We really needed that, Elo Nico. Thank you. Thank you very much. Another one from, oh goodness, Pergy1. I hope I said that right. My apartment has never been cleaner. To start off my review, I of course condemn Hamas and all forms of political violence. This has become my go-to podcast when I stress clean my apartment every Monday. I found Hiddo on TikTok last summer, and it quickly became my favorite political podcast. It gives me jumping off points to do more reading into covered topics rather than feeling overwhelmed by a current chaotic state that is constantly pumping out news. And I will say, we got jumping off points in our description when we leave our sources in the bottom. It's really annotated bibliography, you know what I'm saying? I gave up 1 overpriced coffee a month in order to afford being a Sunday supremacist, and it is well worth it to hear about news sooner. I also just like being part of Patreon because it feels nice being part of a fun secret club, Hiddo University, real ones know. In the desolation that is my first year post-college, apologies for not reviewing sooner. Usually I'm scrubbing the bathtub or something when an episode ends, and I honestly just forget. Totally fine. However, I will say, going into this new post-Liberation Day world, Patreon's really going to cost like half the price of coffee after coffee goes up like crazy.
Relative to the price of coffee.
Exactly. Yeah.
Patreon will actually be cheap.
The real price of Hiddo is going down.
I think the US dollar should probably be fixed to our Patreon subscription model.
And then we'll just keep it steady.
Because it hasn't changed.
It hasn't changed, not one bit.
Exactly.
We survived Biden inflation, and now we're surviving Liberation Day inflation.
We once had the yeah, maybe. We once had the gold standard. Maybe we should have the Hiddo standard. Huh?
I think so.
I feel like this is sound economics.
Everybody's talking about ending the Fed. I think we could unite. You know what I mean?
This next one's from Claudia Tank. 5 stars for Hiddo. I actually found Hiddo from a stitch on TikTok where Jeremy was getting canceled for saying that we should vote for harm reduction, and I thought, man, this white boy from mid-Michigan has a point.
That's in fact.
Hiddo has great takes. It is the #1 geopolitical podcast, and I love listening to it while I drive over destroyed wetlands on my way to work in my very, very red state of Florida. Shout out Hiddo boys for always bringing the news, making me laugh, and condemning Hamas and all political violence. I put my very lib Pod Save America family onto it, and they are now out here saying Sleepy Joe unironically.
Let's go.
Dub. 5 stars.
They're about to start saying Little Marco.
Thanks for putting the family on, and thanks for seeing that stitch and thinking that the stitched person's actually right.
Yeah, thinking that, I mean? Wait a second, they were cooking. You know what I mean? Boy, I low-key kind of missed that time. As frustrating as that was, I miss when we were arguing about whether or not Joe Biden should have dropped out. Yeah. Not arguing about whether or not I should be able to afford things or stockpile lotion.
That wasn't even if Joe Biden should drop out. Because
at that time, like, he was not dropping out.
Yeah, that wasn't even a consideration. That was just should like the left wing vote for Joe Biden in the face of his support for a genocide in Israel. And of course, I condemn Israel as well as Hamas.
Oh, wow.
But the fundamental argument is that our voting system isn't built for third-party options, unfortunately. So that just kind of is what it is. We got one left, though.
We got one left?
We got one left. This is a fat one. This one is Shadow O-AJB. Leftist white boys up a million.
AJ Brown?
AJ Brown. Leftist white boys up a million. Let's start off by saying I condemn Hamas and all acts of political violence and those not yet spreading the good word of Hiddo. As a leftist white boy from a Hiddo award-winning southern state who doesn't shut up about politics, I've responded to you should make a podcast with a recommendation to the only 2 white boys allowed to have podcast equipment.
Sir.
I first found you guys a few years ago, but in the last year and a half have tuned in as often as I could for your coverage of the election and of Gaza. Hiddo got me through interning in a Democratic congressional office, and my degree from Hiddo University helped me cohesively identify exactly what I did and did not like about the office's handling of Gaza. I have also recently evangelized my girlfriend, who will be sitting next to me listening. Hi, Jess. She has in turn supported my ascent to Sunday supremacy, and I am honored to support my non-parasocial best friend, or my non-parasocially favorite 2 Midwestern white boys. I don't know why I thought best friend.
Well, I mean that too.
Yeah, my brain just kind of went to it. I couldn't stop it. I'm fortunate to live and go to graduate school in Massachusetts, but with the kidnapping of students off the street by ICE, it is more evident day after day how much work there is to be done at home, nationwide, and worldwide. Once I graduate and enter the workforce, I hope to contribute to a brighter future with my 2 favorite white boys in my ears.
That's right, and by your side.
Yeah, what an uplifting review that one was.
That's what I'm saying. What a uplifting suite of reviews.
Yeah.
Hopefully the news coverage doesn't take a nosedive, much like the stock market this week.
The stock market this week taking a nosedive. Things getting real bad here and abroad. But I will say, if any of you went to those hands-off protests that happened over the weekend, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
If you ever want to feel not so bad, just get out and go to a protest that's being organized nearby. In Detroit, in front of the DIA, the Institute of Arts, there was I don't know, it feels like it was more than 1,000 people.
Okay. Old white people too.
Yeah, old white people. And when you make old white people the most privileged class in American society.
Those are the Republican voters.
Those are the ones receiving socialized programs from the government. When they're mad about something, you fucked up.
Absolutely.
And seeing just a sea of old white people was reassuring.
Well, because they get what people like Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries don't. They get that the GOP is trying to kill them.
Yeah, exactly. And then there was one point where there's an ambulance coming by. And then I heard multiple people audibly say, let emergency vehicles through. Beautiful. And I was like, that's just protesting etiquette. What are we doing?
Let's go.
We're absolutely locked in. But aside from the sort of uplifting, happy news, let's talk about the tanking of the global economy.
Man, what a fucking...
And the ideological justifications for it.
What a fucking week, man.
Yeah.
I'm just going through life. I'm just going through my week, you know what I mean, at work on Monday, and I start to hear what's it called? Whispers of Liberation Day on Twitter. And I'm like, Liberation Day, what the fuck is going on? What is this? Helldivers 2?
I thought Liberation Day was November 5th last year when Trump got elected.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's what he said.
What I'm saying. And they start talking about Liberation Day. I'm like, okay, this sounds a little fash. What are they going to announce? I don't know. And then all of a sudden I'm just living my life, and was it Tuesday?
Yeah.
Afternoon or Wednesday? Wednesday afternoon, I get off work, I get home. All of a sudden I see on my phone, 46% tariffs on Vietnam? What the fuck are we doing?
I think our closest trading partner in Asia, right?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
I don't know. We get a lot of clothes from them. We get a lot from them. They make a lot in Vietnam.
And that was intentional. We helped beef up their industries specifically for that reason. But we'll get into specific tariff rates in a moment. Of course, the biggest news this past week was the announcement of tariffs. I think we should run through exactly what happened, and then we can deal with the arguments. Throughout the week, I had sort of been collecting arguments like infinity stones in my pocket. You know what I mean? Yeah. I had just seen an argument. I'm like, that's a different strain of thought. I should write that down. I ended up with 10 different arguments that I encountered.
Much like a virus, too. Yeah. Like, just awful, stupid things. Like, the arguments that came out this week, I can hardly wrap my head around. It's either you will own nothing and be happy, but, like, literally, or just the dumbest, most backwards type of mental gymnastics possible.
And we'll get to all the arguments. But first, of course, as Gage said last week, was dubbed Liberation Day. Trump unveiled his tariff plan, which included more than 100 countries that are now being hit with tariffs.
Isn't it like every country? Ever?
It's every country we have a trade deficit with.
Okay.
Because that's how it was calculated. And as I'll explain, this calculation was really fucking stupid. He framed these as reciprocal tariffs, as in, we're getting tariffed by this country, so we're doing it in return. But then he called it a discounted tariff, so he cut that rate in half.
Yeah.
However, the tariffs that Trump decided to place have nothing to do with the actual tariffs that are imposed on us by other countries. Or I should say, have nothing to do with tariffs that are imposed by imports from our country to other countries. Because, of course, remember, this isn't us importing stuff to a country, then we pay a tax. It is companies in, let's say, Japan paying a tax on goods they import from America.
Yeah.
It is not America paying a tax. It is Japanese importers paying a tax on what they import from us. That's how tariffs work.
And it's also like calculating how much a country is like tariffing your country like as a whole. Incredibly difficult, incredibly hard.
Because every country does it different.
Nobody tariffs an entire country's entire industry.
Well, we
just
do.
Like in general, except us now. Like that's not what happens. That's not how any of this shit works.
Not just industry. Blanket tariff on everything from the country.
That's why I say like industry, as in one. Like blanket entire, American industry or Japanese industry. Whatever the fuck he did is just stupid. Like nobody does that.
Yeah. So the formula they use to get these tariff rates was based on the trade deficit, so that's exports minus imports. Then they divided it by the total number of goods from imports, and then they cut that in half to get a tariff rate. So the basic formula is exports minus imports divided by imports, divided in two, right? Divided in half.
Yeah.
And that's how we got the tariff rate that we are now applying to that country.
But it's crazy because like they rampantly denied that this is how they were doing the calculation.
Yeah, they did for a while. They put like a bunch of Greek letters up.
I was going to say.
And then if you work it out, it's just the same thing.
No, so what they did is they took the equation. They also threw a bunch of subscripts on these variables for no fucking reason at all. It was like delta T equals E subscript I minus I subscript I over E subscript I or whatever is exports minus
Something
imports
stupid.
over imports multiplied by epsilon multiplied by some other Greek number. And the deputy press secretary said it's not a trade deficit because we have these two constants we're multiplying by. But he also revealed that the constants are times 4 times 0.25. It's just fucking 1, dog.
It's equals
like,
1.
It's just 1. You just multiplied the equation by 1, and you think you're getting 1 over on me.
Yeah.
Like the audacity is crazy.
So obviously goes without saying, this formula doesn't include actual tariff rates. It's just a rate of trade deficits. Like when you divide an equation by one of the numbers in the top, you just get a rate. Like they turned the trade deficit into a rate, cut it in half, then called that the reciprocal tariff that they were putting on, the discounted reciprocal tariff. I don't understand, and I've been thinking about this for days. How does this equal tariffs? Like in what way does this represent tariff?
None of this shit makes sense.
It's not even like an aggregated number for each country. It's just an equation based on a trade deficit. And as fucking Ben Shapiro said this week, a trade deficit's just an accounting number.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't really represent anything material. It's just you're minusing exports and imports.
And it's like
you're subtracting imports from exports. Trump
is acting like having a trade deficit with a country means necessarily that we're just being ripped off by that country. How?
Yeah.
We exchange money for goods. Like, I don't understand, man. I've seen a lot of people this week talk about how it's like you have a trade deficit with your grocery store.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly, man.
And trade deficits for the richest country in the world, richest country in the history of the world, makes sense.
We can afford to consume.
We got all the money.
So we consume. Like, that's it.
When you get all the money, when you're the global empire, the goods flow to you. Because you got all the money.
The dollar is the world's reserve currency, man.
Yeah.
Like it makes sense that we have trade deficits. We have a trinket economy. Our economy is built off buying and selling trinkets, not making trinkets.
Yeah.
And it hasn't been built off making trinkets since like the late 90s, early 2000s. It was like 78 when manufacturing started going down, and it took a nosedive in the 2000s. This hasn't been the case for a while now.
Yeah. And it's very important to note that only goods are included in this calculation. Only goods are included in the calculation of trade deficits, turning it into a rate, dividing it in half, and then getting a reciprocal tariff. And from the New York Times, quote, the United States imports more goods from the European Union than it sends, but it exports more services than it buys. If you counted services in the trade gap in Mr. Trump's formula, the tariffs on the EU would shrink almost in half.
Why are we like fucking our friends like this?
I don't know. And it's like the services, trading services gets our country money.
Yeah.
We're a service-based economy because we're the richest country in the world and the manufacturing left.
And it's like services are shit like IT. Like it's shit like that. Financial services, IT services, technological services, like shit
Patreon.
like that. Like Patreon. Patreon. Hold on a minute. Like that's a useful thing. That's like a good just in another way. This shit is so fucking stupid, dog.
And this is the crucial component, and I think this sort of reveals some of Trump's thinking or some of the Trump administration's thinking. This scheme is beneficial for a country like Bermuda because, quote, the archipelago nation that exports few goods but plenty of financial services to the United States, thanks to its favorable tax laws, American companies like to bank there. Under the rules, it pays a 10% tariff. If service dollars were counted, it would pay a 37% tariff. Bermuda has a bunch of financial and banking services. Trump's friends probably use Bermuda for their financial and banking services. Slapping a tariff would make it more expensive for them to bank there.
I think the Patreon's safe, gang.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying is like, if he would have included services in this calculation and included it in what's actually tariffed, then he and a lot of his friends wouldn't be able to, hide money in the Cayman Islands or whatever.
And it's like, not to sound like corny or whatever, but it's like the whole fucking America first bullshit. We're putting America first by putting America last, by literally just shitting on all of our friends across the world.
Yeah.
I had seen reports come out that some of these tariffs may violate like NATO trade agreements. Like,
I would believe it, yeah.
Oh my God.
I mean, and it's tough because we constructed groups like the IMF and the World Bank and whatnot to forcibly pry open markets in countries that were trying to protect their industries. And often those rules never applied to us. But this is like an explicit violation of those rules.
Yeah,
you know
man.
what I mean? It's anti-free trade is what it is.
So fucking stupid.
For context, here are some of the biggest hitters in this new tax scheme or tariff scheme. China, 34% blanket tariff on all goods from China.
I think also that is 34%. I think. Don't necessarily quote me on this. I didn't look this up before, but I think that's a 34% on the additional 20% tariff that was introduced earlier in the year. So I think the total tariffs on Chinese goods is 54%.
Yeah, and China just announced reciprocal tariffs, so they're hitting all of our stuff. So we're getting actively in a trade war with, the biggest producer on the world. I believe China is the biggest manufacturing producer in the world. I don't know.
Probably.
Someone fact check me on that.
We're getting in a trade war with
They
China
produce
again.
a lot of stuff.
We lost the last one.
Yeah, exactly. EU, 20% tariff. Japan, 24% tariff. Vietnam, 46% tariff.
Why?
Nonsense. And Taiwan, 32% tariff. Special note that Mexico and Canada are not included in this set of tariffs because they received a different set back in March. Again, these are also all blanket tariffs. None of these specifically apply to like cars made in China or certain things made in Vietnam. And, we want to protect our industry from those cheaper goods. It is just completely blanket tariffs. And also, oddly enough, any country that we had a trade deficit with whose rate was lower than 10%, just got a flat 10% tariff.
Just for the love of the game.
Just for the love of the game.
For the love of it, because 10, it's a good number, I guess.
There's no justification for the formula itself. I don't know what justifies a 10% flat tariff just because we have a $200 million trading deficit.
With like the UK too.
Yeah.
We slapped a flat 10% tariff on the UK. Brother, why?
I don't know.
They do like everything to suck up to us.
Yeah. And this is my first criticism, right? Like the calculation for these tariffs is already stupid, but it doesn't take into account countries that don't do blanket tariffs, which is basically all of them, right? Like tariffs on specific goods or specific industries are designed to allow the domestic industry to grow. But the actual tariff rates for those specific industries, say if they put in a tariff like 50% on American cars or whatever, that's not reflected in the formula at all.
Yeah.
And so if you're going to argue that this is like a sort of negotiation tactic or it's meant to squeeze them or get them to capitulate or anything, it doesn't make any sense. It's just a blanket tariff. You're not protecting an industry. You're just targeting them.
Yeah, exactly. Like by virtue of it being just a blanket tariff, you're not looking at any specific industries. Like you're not looking at, like you said, you're not looking at the auto industry and saying like, okay, this is what they do. This is what we're going to do to match that. This is the percent that we are going to charge foreign cars so that they are more expensive than American cars to incentivize people to buy American cars. It's just some number added on top of those cars. Maybe it'll be cheaper. Maybe it won't be cheaper.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
And it's like, for example, I use this example often, like Hamilton argued for tariffs on agricultural goods coming from Britain when the country first started because we wanted our agricultural industry to grow.
Yeah.
That's how tariffs are applied correctly.
Yeah.
Or like France, I think, it wasn't even a tariff. They just banned imports of certain textiles and stuff because they wanted French textile creators or whatever to be able to sell their goods and make money off of it. They wanted that industry to grow. That's how you use tariffs and like protectionist trade policy correctly. But this is just a blanket. It doesn't protect anything. It just raises prices.
And for all this talk about how we're going to bring manufacturing back, we're going to usher in this golden age of American manufacturing, there is $0. There's zero proposals, even zero thoughts of actually investing in American manufacturing, of actually giving money to companies to build manufacturing plants here, to do things here. It's just, they will.
Yeah.
Maybe they will, maybe they won't.
And for example of how just like nonsensical this is, Lesotho is a country in South Africa. It's actually the small like circular country within South Africa itself. They have a 50% tariff rate slapped on them. Lesotho's not a rich country.
Yeah.
But because the trade deficit is so large, there's a 50% tariff rate on them. But the trade deficit's only so big because they export diamonds. And we export nothing to them because they don't have the money to buy American goods.
It's like...
It doesn't make sense.
We're not even like trying to like bully people into buying American.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like,
Lesotho didn't take the factory jobs.
Exactly. No, absolutely.
GM's not in Lesotho.
Like these small countries aren't going to be buying American goods at any like substantial rate. Like you said, they're fucking poor. We buy from them because we can.
And we set up the global capitalist system to exploit those poor countries. Like we've been benefiting from the system as it's constructed. The people weren't, because the system, like the American people haven't benefited because the system was designed to benefit the American capital, not American people.
GM did not offshore to Lesotho.
Yeah.
I can tell you that.
Exactly. One of the funnier moments from this whole tariff debacle was when Howard Lutnick, Trump's commerce secretary, said, quote, "The European Union won't take chicken from America. They won't take lobsters from America. They hate our beef because our beef is beautiful and theirs is weak."
These people are fake, man. Like
they won't take our beef because it's filthy.
They won't take our beef because it's beautiful. That's why they won't take our beef.
It's full of parasites. That's why they won't take our beef, because they seriously regulate the food that they feed to their people. It's so fucking stupid. Like if we better
for this, man.
If we better regulated our food, maybe they would take it. I think they that the EU and Australia slapped a ban on like the import of American beef in like 2004 or something because there was a disease outbreak among cows, and those regulations never changed in any substantial way. So the US is still mad about it. But it's like, maybe if our meat was cleaner, they'd buy it.
Maybe if we had a real FDA.
Yeah.
A serious FDA.
Yeah. Now before we get into these arguments, quick disclaimer. Obviously this is a leftist podcast.
Yep.
But everything we're going to be talking about is capitalist solutions to capitalist problems.
Shout out James Maynard Keynes.
We're going to be talking about Keynesian economics.
That's right, baby.
You know what I mean? In my ideal utopia, of course, free trade is still a thing. I'm not like anti-free trade or anything. But employment wouldn't be tied to your ability to survive. And then thus evaporating industries wouldn't like portend doom for your livelihood. You know what I mean? Stuff would be able to move around if it needed to, and you wouldn't be faced with like not being able to feed your family. Also essential to remember, as I mentioned with the Benny Johnson stuff, it was capital that fled overseas or fled to other countries. This was not like the leftists that did this to the country. The reason that like factories were abandoned and people lost their jobs and, you know, all like the GM and Ford left Detroit and whatnot, that didn't happen because of leftists.
Yeah.
It happened because capital was seeking cheaper labor.
The communists didn't get into government and say, no, we don't want any American to be able to have a job at a factory anymore. If there was ever a time for tariffs, it would have been in like the late 70s when things started to leave the country. It would have been when companies began offshoring to stop them from offshoring, because if they did that, they'd have to pay an exuberant tariff to get their products back in the country to have access to the United States market. Like it which is one of the biggest markets in the world, one of the richest markets in the world. You want access to the United States market. You would incentivize to keep them there. That's how you would compete with cheaper labor that places like China at the time were offering.
Yeah.
You can't really do that after the fact. You can't do it after that's done.
We did the opposite. We encouraged the companies to leave. Like we created a global financial system based on capital being able to move freely. Like the time to slap on tariffs would have been before Ronald Reagan destroyed the economy. Like it started with Carter, of course, and then Reagan, and then now we're here. Basically, every person has bought into the neoliberal project, including Donald Trump. He's not excluded from this just because he's doing these tariffs. But like, yeah, it wasn't the leftists that did this to the country. In fact, the leftists were the ones fighting against it. The unionists and the people trying to organize labor movements were the ones precisely anticipating and trying to fight against this trajectory. And here we are because capital is allowed to move freely. If you wanted to bring industry back to America, you don't do it through tariffs because tariffs alone are not capable of bringing jobs back. You would want to thoroughly regulate capital and tax the life out of it.
Yeah, and you need robust investment.
Yes.
Like, you need to commit fucking government dollars in damn near decades of time to actually bringing industries back to the country.
Yeah.
And without underselling the American worker. Like,
yeah. And because that gets me into my first argument here. The purpose of tariffs is to raise prices.
Explicitly. That's why they're there.
That is explicitly what tariffs are designed to do. When a country imposes a tariff on a set of goods, or goods broadly in this case, it is explicitly to raise prices so that consumers are pushed towards buying the domestic product. Tariffs alone cannot bring back jobs. You would need, as you said, a massive investment into manufacturing, and you would need to subordinate capital to the interests of the people. But we have encouraged capital to move freely. In fact, this administration is stocked with billionaires. They have no interest in regulating capital to the extent that would be necessary to bring jobs back or invent new industries for manufacturing jobs to exist in. It's not going to happen. These tariffs are just to deliberately cause a recession.
And it's also just so many people getting out there and trying to say that, oh, you should just buy American then. Just buy American, stop buying foreign if the foreign goods are going to become too expensive. And it's like, you do not realize how many American-made things are not made in America. Some things are just assembled in America, and then they can get that fancy sticker on them. We have a global supply chain. Like, I think it was Suzanne Collins, is she senator from Maine?
Yes.
The Republican from Maine?
Yeah.
She's been against, like, a lot of what's been going on because there's, like, robust paper industry, and they get their pulp from a pipeline from Canada. Even things that are made in America take inputs from other countries that are now subject to crazy tariffs. Like, dog.
Or think about cars, right? Like, we sell a bunch of cars here in the U.S.
Yep.
We have GM, Ford, Stellantis, and what? Stellantis just announced like 900 layoffs, by the way.
Oh, interesting.
But we have, like, the major car companies. They produce some stuff. They import some stuff from Canada. They produce some stuff here. That stuff, before it gets put in the final car, sent to Mexico, then sent to Canada, then back to the United States. That gets tariffed every time it crosses the border.
There are parts that cross the Mexico border like a billion times during production for just one car.
And even though those cars will eventually just be an American product, the price increases because it's tariffed.
Yeah.
Like, it's just nonsense.
Nothing is wholly made in America anymore, man. It's a global supply chain. It's global, and it's good. That's actually makes the world safer.
And that's, it makes it because of, like, domestic or international reliance on each other for supply chains makes you less likely to go to war.
Do you have that argument in there?
No, because people weren't really talking about
I've seen like a decent amount of chatter from like Trump and administration officials saying that, like, well, we don't manufacture like our medicine here, so this is what's making like it's unsafe to have this global trade, all of this stuff. We need to bring manufacturing back. Dog, yeah, we can manufacture some medicine here. We can manufacture our own military things here, but it's also like what really makes the world safe is having robust and strong trade agreements so that you don't want to fight your neighbor and you don't want to fight your trading partner because then you lose access to those things. It doesn't create this power imbalance because nobody wants to fight each other. The people who are manufacturing things don't want to lose access to your market, don't want to lose access to the money that you're investing in their country, and you don't want to lose access to the goods and maybe even the cheap labor or the manufacturing infrastructure that places like China or Vietnam provide. Like,
and to the extent that there is an imbalance in power, we're on the powerful side because we have all the fucking money. All the wealth is here. Like, and even if we're not talking about American citizens, because I understand economic realities, people struggle paycheck to paycheck, the wealth in terms of businesses is here. Right? Because the importer pays the tariff. Walmart's got a fuck ton of money. They can eat the tariff and then just pass it on to the consumer. But again, people don't want to lose access to markets. So to the extent that there's a power imbalance, the power's with us.
And like, we also have to consider that even things that would be maybe 100% made in America, the things that are your grandma, the blankets your grandma knits in her basement with yarn that's sourced from, I don't know, fucking American sheep, if that's even a fucking thing, or however the fuck you get yarn. She can raise those prices because there's an excuse because everyone else is raising their prices. She does not have to keep her prices low. In fact, it's not in her best interest. If she's a publicly traded company, she would have to raise her prices because she has a fiduciary responsibility to her shareholders to do so. It's just like what happened in COVID, except Trump is like forcing it. It's not even a pandemic that's coming through and killing a bunch of people and ruining the world.
Yeah.
It's just Trump deciding, I'm going to fuck these guys.
Yeah, and to stick on the point about tariffs raising prices, again, we've made the argument that tariffs can be used in specific circumstances to protect domestic industries, especially as they're growing. And I think that that's like a valid use of a tariff, right?
Yeah.
It's an economic tool. But when you do blanket tariffs, all it does is cause a price increase across the board. For example, if you want to buy a t-shirt and it's $50 to buy it from a wholesaler that got their goods from an American producer, and then it's $35 from a company that got the t-shirt from Vietnam, then you slap a 50% tariff on it, that raises the price, so they're about both $50, right? And so I might be compelled then at that point to buy the American product and thus keep the and I can't even say keep the money in America because like Walmart still gets the money. I might be encouraged to buy the product from the wholesaler that got it from the American producer, but my price still increased.
I was going to say.
The amount that I paid is still higher than it would have been without the tariff. It doesn't make life easier for the consumer. It just raises prices.
If I was going to buy the Vietnamese t-shirt every other time, now I'm just out $15. The only thing that's liberated is the money from my wallet.
Exactly. Without any form of industrial planning, tariffs are insufficient to actually bringing jobs back. All they do is raise prices. But on to the point that you mentioned, where some people are just saying, like, just buy American and then you can avoid these tariffs. As you said, American goods are sometimes just more expensive.
Yep.
Because labor costs are more expensive here because the cost of living is higher, of course. But also, like, where am I going to buy American coffee?
Real as hell.
Hawaii is able to produce some coffee because it's closer to the equator.
Yeah.
But Hawaii can't handle the demand for coffee across the entire nation. We get a lot of coffee from other countries because we can't make, like, geological or geographic specialization, I think, is a good thing.
Where the American avocados at?
Yeah. Exactly. Like, those things have to be imported if people want them. And then, of course, conservatives will argue, well, then you just don't need it. And then it's okay, where's the American dream?
That's what I'm saying.
The purpose of empire is that we can get whatever we want.
They constantly say the Democrats are socialists who want you to buy one government brand peanut butter at the government grocery store. But here I am having to buy the one government brand peanut butter because I can't fucking afford the one that just so happened to be produced in, I don't know, fucking Thailand.
Yeah.
Like, come on, man.
Yeah.
Oh, you don't need many options at the grocery store. You've been saying that.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah. The next argument is that and this is like specifically Trump's argument, that tariffs will bring in revenue for the United States. But I want you to pay attention to the dynamics of the argument here. If we impose tariffs for the purpose of bringing jobs back or for the purpose of making people buy American because now it's too expensive to buy foreign products, then tariff revenue isn't being generated because there will be less imports because people are buying less goods that are imported. Then there is no tariff revenue.
Yep.
But if there is tariff revenue, if this produces a fuck ton of money, like $600 billion or whatever he's projecting, whatever fake number he made up in his head, then that means that people aren't buying American and thus are not stimulating the economy in the way that Trump is proposing. You can't have it both ways.
No.
Either the tariffs produce a bunch of money and we're not buying American, or we start buying American and the tariff revenue is zero.
Yeah.
Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't work both ways.
Especially when this is coupled with proposed tax decreases for the wealthy, that are going on in Congress, and the idea that these tariffs could also help offset tax cuts for billionaires, but not you and me. Eventually, we just have to foot that bill. I'd also like to propose the idea that tariffs are taxes.
Yes.
Straight up,
it's a tax on imports.
It's a tax on imports. It's explicitly there to make these things more expensive so that the government can collect revenue. This is not revenue going to businesses. This is not revenue going to make services better for you and me as the consumers of these goods. This is revenue that the government is collecting based off your purchasing. A tariff is a sales tax, and this has got to be one of the greatest tax increases in recent American history that Trump is doing, and this is going to affect you and me because I guarantee you none of you fuckers listening to this show are multi-millionaires or 100 millionaires. That's just not the reality. That's just not the class interest that we cater to. It's not going to help you out. I read a Yahoo Finance estimate that said per household, these tariffs are going to translate. This is a analysis done by, I think, the Yale Budget Lab. They estimate that these Liberation Day tariffs and the Trump tariffs that he's implemented in 2025 are going to cost the average household $3,800 in disposable income.
That's crazy.
That's a lot of fucking money. That's money that I would not be able to afford.
Again, you people would do unspeakable things to Joe Biden.
Unspeakable.
If that projection was anywhere near like the fucking Inflation Reduction Act, you know what I mean? Like, that's crazy.
That's insane. That's fucking insane.
It's real bad out here. Of course, we already addressed the point that like tariffs will bring back jobs, quote unquote. Again, tariffs aren't capable of bringing back jobs for manufacturing industries. And an important note is that since we put blanket tariffs on these countries and we expect it to bring back manufacturing, they'll just start trading with each other.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I think it's South Korea, Japan, and China have started talks about, like, trade agreements and stuff like that, how to respond to these tariffs.
You know
jointly.
how fucking crazy that is?
They hate each other.
The trilateral trade agreement between, like, enemies.
Like historic enemies, yeah.
Japan did unspeakable things to these people. Like, they don't fucking like each other, man.
No, they'll just find a way to, like, operate without us. Yeah. They of course, they don't want to lose access to the biggest market in the world, the United States. But, I mean, if we're going to act like this, if they're going to put crazy tariffs so they can't import as much, then they're just not going to do it.
Trump's out here acting like Aaron Yeager. He's like, I'll be the enemy so that everyone else unites against me, because that's what's fucking happening. Oh, my goodness, man.
Yeah, again, you need state investment if you want like domestic industry to increase. But even if, let's say, you can track statistically to these tariffs some kind of, I don't know, new investment in domestic manufacturing, it takes years for factories to be built up.
Yep.
I haven't heard one good explanation for why companies wouldn't just try to weather the storm until somebody new gets elected or until these tariffs go away.
You mean to tell me that in 4 short, well, it's going to feel long, but in the scale of eternity, 4 short years is going to be enough time for companies in multiple industries to vertically integrate their fucking supply chain all within the United States? That's insane. That's a ridiculous expectation. They're just going to wait 4 years and in the meantime raise prices on you and me and fuck us out of our dollars. Mm-hmm. They want you to die.
Yeah, it's not going to, it would cost so much money for, I don't know, say GM to relocate all of their industry back into the United States specifically. Or like companies creating computer chips in Taiwan for them to move all of their manufacturing and creation and R&D and everything back into the United States. It would take a lot of money, it would take a lot of time, and it might just be more, like, they might be doing the calculation that it'll be more cost saving, more cost effective to just not do it at all and eat the tariffs.
Exactly.
And enjoy the increased prices that they can charge us.
Exactly, because if they just eat the loss in like demand that they suffer and offset that with tariffs and maybe even increase prices beyond tariffs because fuck it, they can, they'll just get to enjoy after the tariffs are taken away when, I don't know, maybe a Democrat wins in 2028, they'll get to enjoy the new price increase. Yep. Because price increases are sticky. You think the second these go away, they're going to lower their fucking prices? Exactly. Did they do that after COVID?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Yeah, the companies that import foreign goods won't lower their prices, and companies that exclusively sell American goods will raise their prices because they know their competition is stuck with the tariff, and those prices will also never come down. Because if you want these prices to go down, if you want manufacturing to come back, if you want a solution to any of these problems, you have to go after capital. And this administration fundamentally represents capital. Donald Trump's a billionaire.
And you think the Democrats in their current form, in their current awful, evil form, would ever go against capital?
No.
You think even if they win in 2028 and they get rid of all these tariffs and they rebuild all these trade relationships, that they're going to say, GM, you better lower that fucking car's price or you're, I don't know what they would threaten them with, but something's going to happen.
Yeah. Well, and that's one of the criticisms of like the CHIP Act, right? Is like, it was good. It's an investment in domestic manufacturing, but it's functionally a corporate subsidy. And that's because they like to use carrots rather than sticks when it comes to compelling capital interests to do what they want for the good of the country, for the good of the people. Again, if you want to solve any of these issues, you need to make capital subservient to the needs of the people. Yeah. That's the only way to do it.
100%.
But our system's not equipped to do that, and I don't think our politicians are in any way willing to do that, especially not an administration that fundamentally represents those interests. And, one last point I got to make, and I don't see Democrats making this point, and, I don't think culturally anybody's prepared for them to make this point.
Okay.
But we shouldn't want the manufacturing industry of old from the 60s and 70s to come back.
No.
It doesn't. Our economy is highly technologically sophisticated. If those manufacturing jobs and factories were to come back here, a lot of them would just be automated anyway. Work is not the same as it was 60 years ago. And also, we can do more sophisticated things with our manufacturing blue-collar jobs. Absolutely. I'm all for new factories and stuff opening up, but it can be based around something that the world needs and that hasn't been fully developed, like green energy, for example.
We've been saying it for literally years since we started this fucking podcast.
It is the untapped gold reservoir for manufacturing jobs that if we fully invested in, would like usher in an actual economic golden
age. And it's
like
complicated manufacturing as well. We don't need to be building widgets. No. We don't need to be investing and fucking killing ourselves so that we can bring back like simple manufacturing. We should want to be able to do complex manufacturing because that's one, just higher paying and more skilled to represent the more skilled workforce that we have. It's easier for a small country like the Circle in South Africa. I can't remember the name of it. It's easier for Lesotho to have, I don't know, like a steel industry. It's easier for a poorer country to produce raw materials, to produce inputs, than it is for them to have these complex supply chains where they make, like, I don't know, fucking computer chips, for example.
Yeah.
That's easy for us to do in comparison. We can fill that niche. Why do we need the simple jobs when we can have the complex jobs, the better paying jobs? We don't need to bring back black lung.
Yeah. Well, no, and that's the other point is, like, so much of the fascist political project relies on this appeal to the glorious past. You know, we need to go backwards and restore what was taken from us by immigrants and trans people or whatever. But yeah, working conditions were terrible back then.
Yeah.
Like, people would lose fingers on the daily. People would die in factories. Again, the hungry steel loom would eat children alive.
Absolutely.
Like, conditions were not good back then. And to the extent that things were good economically, it was only because of unions, which pushed back against the interests of capital. Again, you have to oppose capital if you want any of this to work in this scheme, but they're not going to do that.
I wonder who would have thought about that. I wonder who would have wrote a book about that. Maybe a couple.
Nothing comes to mind.
Nothing comes to mind. That's what I'm saying.
Nothing comes to mind at all. The next argument here on a more sort of macroeconomic international level is if you want these tariffs to go away, then other countries should lower their tariffs, or a similar variation is if tariffs don't work, why does every other country use them? Every other country doesn't use them in the way that we're using them right now.
That's true. This is really kind of an unprecedented thing.
Yeah.
For us to be doing it like this. And again, they use them to protect their native industries.
Yeah.
Trump got up there and he's like, you go to Japan and all their cars are Japanese. You come here and I don't know, we're a melting pot. Mm-hmm. He didn't say melting pot, obviously, but it's like,
that's the idea.
Because we can afford to consume those things.
Yeah.
I don't know. We don't really need to work super hard to protect Ford and GM. I'd argue there's too many Fords on the street. I'd argue there's way too many F-150s that are fucking running around taking up too much space in the parking garage.
And look, if we're being honest, I would buy a Chinese electric vehicle in a heartbeat.
They banned those.
Joe Biden.
Joe Biden banned those.
Joe Biden banned them because they were making them for cheap.
To help Elon Musk,
to
by
help
the way.
Tesla. Yeah. And I want to be clear about this, right? Like, again, tariffs have their specific use. We were critical of Joe Biden for tariffs on things like Canadian lumber because it did increase house prices statistically. But an outright ban on Chinese electric vehicles just because American electric vehicles cannot compete, that's fucking stupid because I would buy a Chinese electric car.
But even I could see the economic argument behind it. I think it's dumb because I want the cheap car.
Yes.
You know what I mean? I think it's anti-consumer to engage in that behavior, but there's a logic there. Mm-hmm. There's Ford supplies a lot of jobs to people in the Midwest, blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. So we can't let them come interfere and take this market share that would cripple the auto industry in the country. Sure, whatever, yada, yada, let's make better products. This is not that. Mm-mm. This is not that at all. This is, we're going to tariff those and literally everything else, and you're never going to be able to buy anything cheap again.
Yeah, yeah. And again, the entire premise of this debate is that having a trade deficit is bad.
Yeah.
As we established, the U.S. has all the money.
Yeah.
The point of having all the money is that we can buy a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
Is that stuff from other countries. We designed the global economy such that stuff from other countries will be siphoned in our direction. That's the point.
We're doing the siphoning.
That was the message that neoliberals in the 70s sold everybody on, is that you'll be able to buy a bunch of cool things.
And it's
and to be fair, we are. Economic conditions have worsened, but it's solely because unions have been utterly decimated in this country. And again, we don't tax the rich and attack capital as much as we should.
And it's this has got to backfire. You know what I mean? Nobody is going to be happy about this when they see massive increase when they go to the fucking grocery store, when they go to buy their hobby items. Every single hobby subreddit you go into right now is fucking freaking out, and they've turned into marks.
Yeah, they're calling for assassination attempts.
Fucking the Nintendo subreddit, just wicked posts in there.
Yeah.
But Real Hito Heads know I collect action figures. Mm-hmm. Lots of this shit is made in Vietnam and China. I'm fucking pissed.
Yeah.
I'm fucking pissed. That's my thing. The grocery tariffs, everything else being more expensive, that fucking sucks, right? But everybody's got their thing that they're looking at, that they go to escape to, that they want to spend their fucking money on, and that's getting more expensive. Mm-hmm. That hurts a little bit more. You know what I mean? Obviously, the food fucking sucks, but you're pricing me out of the thing I like.
Yeah.
And so I'm looking in the action figure subreddit, and all of a sudden people are posting comparisons of prices before and prices after, because places like Big Bad Toy Store immediately fucking reacted to the tariffs and raised prices. It's ridiculous. Motherfuckers are turning into marks, explaining the theory behind tariffs in the goddamn SH Figure Art subreddit, and then you get one fucking guy talking about like, oh, blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. I can't.
Yeah. Or like if you're a big gamer, Switch 2 about to be $750 in the United States.
Insane. And Nintendo moved a lot of their manufacturing to Vietnam in anticipation of tariffs. Because why would you tariff Vietnam?
PlayStation 6, of course, Sony's a Japanese country. If, that comes out in 2028 before these tariffs are gone, that shit's going to be super expensive. I saw some things about like physical games that are like, lasered onto CDs and stuff. Yeah. Those are going to get more expensive.
Oh, wow.
And if you think the gaming industry won't use that as an excuse to raise the price of digital games as well, you're crazy. You're crazy. Like, shit's just getting worse for everybody here. Again, blanket tariffs, all they do is raise prices. Yeah. That is the purpose of a tariff.
And it's like they are making your essentials more expensive, and they're making the things you go to escape those essentials more expensive. Mm-hmm. They're taking away your trinkets. And I don't know, I feel like there's been a robust recent history in this country of when your trinkets are being taken away, people kind of go to the streets and riot. Like, they go to Lansing and protest because they can't get haircuts. Like, there's no way this doesn't backfire like crazy once these price increases actually hit.
Yeah, and it's interesting because right now you have conservatives arguing that like the American people should be willing to sacrifice in the short term for like long-term gain.
Yeah.
There's no long-term gain here.
Nope.
But even if you believe that, let's run with that for a second. They weren't willing to do that in COVID.
Absolutely
when there was
not.
a legitimate threat to human life.
People were dying.
On the scene.
There was a 9/11 every day.
Yeah, and they weren't willing to do that under conditions of a pandemic. And now they're telling us we should weather this storm with no guaranteed payoff because there's no state investment in actual jobs coming back. And what, we're just supposed to believe them?
Like, assuming these tariffs last, like, throughout the entirety of Trump's term, the short-term pain that people like Thomas Sheehy are talking about when they go on Fox News or MSNBC to defend this bullshit is going to be at least 4 years.
Yeah.
That's a lot of years.
Or I think his estimate was like 6 to 12 months.
No
and it's
fucking
like,
shot.
It's like, yeah, first of all, these tariffs would have to last longer to have any real effect on jobs coming back.
These tariffs are going to last exactly as long as they're implemented. Mm-hmm. It's straight up. That's how it is. Like, the pain is going to last as long as these tariffs are there.
Yeah, exactly. The next argument is about like negotiation, right? That Trump is imposing these because he wants to be able to negotiate a deal with other countries. I'm skeptical of this, first of all, because there's more than 100 tariffs. Mm-hmm. Are we going to be doing 100 different negotiations?
Yeah.
And if so, you didn't need to put blanket tariffs and hurt your own population in order to do that. That's like walking into a negotiation and bringing a gun.
Yeah.
Like, you could sit down at a table and talk about tariffs over the course of a year, or talk about like more auspicious trade deals so that we can get goods and they can get our goods and we can simulate each other's economy and whatnot. It didn't require raising prices on your own economy.
He's like getting negotiation tactics from the Netanyahu school.
Yeah, exactly. There have been some people that have like zoomed out on the S&P 500 graph or the Dow Jones graph to make it like, 5 years of time and show that the line hasn't actually gone down that much. First of all, of course, there is steady growth in the stock market over time over the last 5 years.
Yep.
But also the progress you're showing over the last 5 years is explicitly under Joe Biden's rule.
Yes.
And if you know anything about economics, we're talking trends. Like, we had 1 week of drops. We wiped out a year of stock market gains in that 1 week. And people are worried that it's going to continue, that the market will be in free fall.
We're just in a bearish market now.
Yeah.
Like, that's a shift. And also, I've seen people pull that same graph and show this period in like 2022, 2023, where the market was constantly like fluctuating back and forth, like big swings and upturns, you know what I mean? And saying nobody was panicking back then. Actually, everyone was panicking back then. You guys wouldn't stop fucking bitching about it, especially people like Benny Johnson, The Quartering, Fox News, and people on MSNBC and Jim Cramer wouldn't stop bitching about it too. Everybody bitches anytime this happens, and those were times where it was like outside the administration's control. Trump just did this on purpose.
Yeah, there was the Suez Canal, there was the war in Israel. Actually, no, that hadn't started until the year after.
There was just general...
It was Russia-Ukraine war was 2022.
And still recovering from COVID.
Yeah, still recovering
2022, we were just barely coming out of COVID.
Yeah. Yeah, and it was like vicious ups and downs, but like the overall trajectory after we got out of that like up and down period was pretty stable and has been since 2023 until now.
Yeah, and it's like, my point is, you guys always bitch about that.
Yep.
Of course I'm going to bitch about it when bro does it on purpose.
Now let's get into the arguments attacking our ideology specifically. If you're a leftist, why do you even care about the stock market? I've seen that one a lot. a lot of people are saying like, oh, you want to burn down the whole system, but now that the stock market is crashing or crashing, quote unquote, now you care about the stock market?
Nobody wants to make real arguments, and I hate them.
Yeah.
Like, it's just not, you're refusing to engage with anything substantively.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
There's no discourse anymore.
It's not like it's some fact hidden behind a curtain that American retirement is tied up in their 401ks.
Mm-hmm.
Your ability to not have to work until the fucking day you die or die on the job is tied up in how much you saved when you were like 20 years old. How much you set aside in your 401k that's intimately tied to the S&P 500, the NASDAQ, the fucking Dow.
Yeah.
As soon as that crashes, people literally can't retire. Mm-hmm. That's a big fucking deal. I'm a realist who understands that we have to contend with the reality of situations. Mm-hmm. And I mean, if you don't, you're just silly and you shouldn't be a part of this conversation, much like the people who are saying if you're a leftist, why would you care?
Yeah, and it's like, it is true that the well-being of the stock market isn't directly or maybe even at all tied to the well-being of people materially, right?
It's not.
Like, that is true. And I also don't think as a leftist that the stock market, publicly traded companies are a good way of distributing the capital necessary for production.
Yeah.
I think that's generally a pretty bad way to do it.
It proves itself not to be. Don't the richest 1% of people own like 90% of the market?
Yeah.
And then the rest of the market is owned by your 401k?
Yeah.
Like,
your ability to get investments wholly based on if people think you can make profit. It's all speculative. It crashes every once in a while, right? Like I'm sympathetic to these arguments. It's a bad system. However, implementing economic policies that directly hurt the market doesn't mean that those policies are good or helping people.
Yeah, maybe I want eventually a system where I don't have to worry about the stock market, like, at all. You're doing it the wrong way, though.
Yeah. And like when we see stock market dips like this, it means that investors are pulling money because they think the future prospect of profit is unlikely given the changing economic circumstances. And while that's a bit hoity-toity and people recognize that the stock market isn't really reflective of how well people are doing, there is a correlation in the sense that when the stock market crashes, when investors pull money, people lose their jobs. And when people lose their jobs, then economic conditions really worsen because they don't have any money to keep themselves afloat.
It's like this idea that like you want to get like a bookshelf out of your house. You know what I mean? You can take apart that bookshelf. You can go and unscrew every little bit. You'll still have the pieces largely intact. Maybe it could be rebuilt, but for this purpose, you don't want it to be rebuilt. You want to get rid of it. You can use that wood for something else. Mm-hmm. You can sell that wood. You can do anything else with it. You can give it to somebody. But if you take a sledgehammer to it and just fucking break it, nobody can do anything with it, and it's just a mess.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, you can't just tear apart a system just to tear it apart.
Yeah, same idea with unemployment numbers, right? Like, we just got employment numbers, and it was, like, better than projected or whatever. But low unemployment doesn't necessarily mean that people's employment opportunities are good, and therefore people are doing well. But high unemployment also isn't good.
Yeah.
like these are just economic metrics. But when we see the stock market falling, and, you know, maybe it'll correct itself. I don't know if things will improve. Again, I'm not an oracle. I can't see into the future. But when we see the stock market falling, and if it continues to fall, it will eventually mean people start losing jobs because capital is pulling out.
Well, it eventually just means recession.
Yeah.
Like, it just means recession that could lead into a greater economic depression. More people lose their jobs. Some people even fucking die. Like, fuck the trinkets. You can't even buy the food.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not a good
Egg
time.
prices and whatnot.
Egg prices. Yeah, Jesus Christ, man.
The next argument is that we only get these foreign goods because labor is so cheap elsewhere. And there is a pretty strong critique here that, you know, child labor is used in some parts of the world, slavery is used in some parts of the world, or just like adult populations are exploited because the cost of living is so low, so we can pay them like 25 cents an hour and get away with it. And again, I'm sympathetic to this. U.S. companies participate in this process, by the way, like Nestle, for example, caught using slave labor, and Supreme Court was like, that's not a problem. So this is like a real thing that happens. But again, tariffs on foreign goods don't mean that people won't be exploiting child labor.
I was going to say, like, even if cheap goods are predicated on cheap labor in developing countries, just because you make the goods more expensive doesn't mean the labor still wasn't cheap. Mm-hmm. Like, it doesn't mean that you've done anything material to uplift those people's lives. If the good was just more expensive and they were paid a better wage, there's a real good argument to be made there that you should be paying more for that. If the extra money is just being reabsorbed by the American government to pay for a rich person's tax break, I think there's a real good argument to keep my fucking trinkets cheap.
Yeah, and like if you're interested, and conservatives only bring this up as like an argument in favor of tariffs or in favor of like quote unquote bringing manufacturing home.
It's in the same vein as, oh, you want to give all this money to Ukraine? What about American veterans?
Yeah, exactly.
You don't want to do either. You
like,
just defunded the VA.
Yeah, they don't actually care. But if there was like a real humanitarian concern for the exploitation of child labor overseas, then you'd want to use groups like the UN and the IMF and the World Bank, like these massive financial industries that we've created for at our behest, You'd want to use them to pressure countries to stop doing child labor. Trump could do that, right? He's the head of state. He's the head of foreign policy. He could easily do that and start cracking down on child labor abroad, but they're not going to do it because they don't care.
You could, as the United States, get out there and implement restrictions on U.S. companies from, say, subcontracting slave labor like Nestle did.
Yeah.
And admitted to.
Yeah, like the presidency could work to implement global reforms such that child labor and slavery cannot be used in production. Like, all the countries that sign on to whatever UN document will not accept imported goods that are sourced from, made by children, made by slaves, whatever. Yeah. You could do that. That's a real thing that the United Nations could do.
Create a global trade agreement. No country, no OECD nation will participate in this.
Yeah, you could exclude from the global economy people that are exploiting kids and slaves and whatnot. But I mean, that's not the movement, right?
Yeah.
We're just doing tariffs, and tariffs don't resolve this issue at all.
Keep it the same, but make tariffs. It's literally making everything worse.
Yeah.
People abroad aren't getting better. They're not getting better deals. They're not getting better working conditions. They're not getting better wages, and we're not getting cheap goods.
Nope. The last argument I have here is if this administration is for the rich, then why is Trump doing something that seemingly hurts businesses? And I have two responses here. First of all, I think a lot of rich folks don't think that this is actually going to last that long. I think they're still holding on to the hope that this will be the same as the first Trump administration. They'll just get the tax cut and they'll be able to make off like bandits functionally. And I think there's some polling data to support this. Goldman Sachs just did a poll of a survey of their investors, and a plurality of investors thought that this was only going to last 3 months.
It better.
They thought that these tariffs would be done and away with within 3 months.
I'm praying it only lasts 3 months.
A lot of people with money that are making investments that have the sort of capital to burn, they don't think that this is something that's going to seriously last that long.
Yeah.
That's why I think the Trump administration is currently getting away with what they're doing. But also, for those that are very, very wealthy, like the top of the top, the 1% of the 1%, they can weather the storm. And once these tariffs fully trigger a recession, and after that recession is over, those that did weather the storm have a bunch of new assets they can buy up and a bunch of new market share they can take control of.
Low-key, he might just be doing a recession on purpose.
Yeah, which is fucking crazy.
But and it feels conspiratorial to say, but these tariffs don't make any sense.
Yeah.
It is entirely predictable that the market was going to crash after these fucking went in there. Every single goddamn economist, except maybe two that work for Trump himself, got out and said these were way higher than we expected. Why the fuck would you do this?
Yeah.
And if you don't believe that maybe there could be a deliberate recession so that wealthy people can scoop up capital, let's take it from Trump himself from years ago.
That I do better in bad markets. I buy things in bad markets. And you can't do that in a great economy. You can't buy it. Either you're going to buy it very expensively or not be able to buy it at all. So there's a lot of opportunity, I find, in the bad times. Find that I do better.
That's from a 2012 History Channel mini documentary. That is Trump himself. And that's only an ideology that you can have if you got fucking money to burn.
Exactly.
If you got many millions of dollars that you can use to buy up companies or buy up capital. If you've got money to just sink on the dip in the stock market, if you can accidentally predict the dip, which I don't think any of us really have.
Yeah. like during the Great Depression, there was a bunch of smaller businesses that were just completely wiped out, right? Because of changing economic circumstances. But those that were super rich that survived had a bunch of new stuff to play around with. They can weather the recession because they have the money to do so. I wouldn't be surprised if that's exactly what he's trying to do. He's just trying to consolidate capital.
Crazy.
Yeah. So that's about it on tariffs. That's all the stuff that I saw this past week. Anything else you think that we missed here in this analysis?
I don't think so. We got Mark Cuban telling us to stockpile goods. That's a good one. Maybe you should buy non-perishables. I don't know.
Yeah, guys,
I don't know how long this is going to last.
Everybody run to the bank and demand all of your money.
I want every cent pulled out of my bank account right now. I'd like to close my account and deposit all of it in cash, cold hard cash, please.
Put it under my mattress. Yeah, exactly.
And make sure you do this at many different banks at the same time.
The FDIC insures $250,000.
Exactly.
So
you have to.
You have to give it to me. Anyways, I think that's it on tariffs. Fundamentally, if you want to revive the economy for people that are at the bottom of it, you need some very basic things. You need a taxation on the wealthy. Again, this country was its strongest when the top marginal income rate was 90%. If you want to rebuild a manufacturing base, rebuild a middle class, you need that sort of taxation on the wealthy. You need broad-based social programs. Again, those that were implemented under FDR. Social Security started then. Medicare started a little while after that. You need state-run infrastructure projects. I'm not talking just dropping money on states. I'm talking like state-run jobs programs.
Yeah.
Like
we are fixing every Michigan road.
Yeah, during the New Deal, there was a jobs program where people would just go around and plant trees.
It's just guaranteed jobs.
Yeah, exactly.
You just walked around and did bullshit. Doge would hate that.
That's what you need if you want to revive an economy. Strong unions are an absolute necessity. Again, to the extent that factory jobs were like desirable at all back in the 60s and 70s, it was because of the achievements of labor unions.
And pensions.
And pensions, of course. And then, maybe tariffs can be included, but more broadly, you just need a comprehensive, centralized industrial planning scheme. That's what is necessary if you really want to revive the American domestic manufacturing economy, blue-collar jobs and whatnot. Otherwise, tariffs aren't just going to do it. They can't do it on their own. They'll just decimate everybody else.
Man, what a time. I imagine next week we'll have more info about how this is exactly going to affect consumers. Right now, we only really have estimates because we're, a couple days out from an economy shaking announcement?
Yeah.
An economy crashing announcement.
Orange Monday coming up, baby.
Orange Monday coming up. I think it's predicted that there's further crash on Monday.
The
After
futures
hours
market
trading has just been ridiculous.
The futures market opens in like an hour. So we'll get a good taste for what's going on for this week in the stock market. I'm not a huge stock guy. Again, like the stock market can be high when everyone else is suffering.
Yeah.
So there's a potential that this does like bounce back to some degree.
It's like the stock market can be high while everyone else is suffering, but the stock market can't be low while everybody's prospering. You know what I'm saying? That's the extent to which I really care about the stock market. I'm not out here reporting every time the S&P hits a new high because it's like, what is that doing for me?
Exactly.
But when it hits a new low, I think we're in big trouble.
Yeah, and it's like the whole dynamic around this tariff discussion is based on this idea that we have no idea where all the wealth went.
Yeah.
It's like Trump is saying that the wealth went overseas, which in some cases it did. We're claiming that we're getting ripped off by other countries. But it's not just that manufacturing left. It's that all the wealth was siphoned to the top.
Yeah, there's maybe
taxes were lowered, social programs were cut back, jobs left the country, but the people at the top, Americans at the top of the economic pyramid, have all of the money.
There's maybe like a single percent, maybe like a percent of people that got everything, got away with it all. I don't know though.
It's like if you want to revive the domestic economy, it's wealth redistribution.
That'd be pretty good.
Fundamentally, it's wealth redistribution that you have to do in the short term. Tariffs aren't going to do the trick. The money didn't just disappear. It didn't just like leave out of nowhere. We empowered it to leave. We told capital that you would be allowed to move freely, and then it all went to the top because that's what happens.
Yeah.
So you're dumb if you think that.
People like Jeff Bezos shouldn't have enough money. Have you heard about how he's got like this big ass hedge fence at his like mansion in California that just violates a city ordinance on it? So he pays like a $250,000 fee. He pays some absurd fine. I don't know the exact dollar amount, like every month just to have it, even though it's illegal to have. You shouldn't have enough money to be able to do that. Or we should have infrastructure within the government to say that, hey, if somebody is knowingly disobeying city ordinance because they can afford to, we're going to make it so expensive that they can't keep doing that just for them specifically.
It should be like proportional to income. Otherwise, the law is only for the poor.
Or as you just keep violating when you have that much money, each time you violate, it gets exponentially more expensive.
Is it like a big wall to keep the pores out? Is that the idea?
Probably.
Because it
it's
reminded
like
me
huge like privacy like hedge fence type thing so nobody can see in.
It reminded me of Zuckerberg, and like he's got like his personal island in Hawaii now.
Yeah. Okay.
As he prepares for climate disaster,
Nice.
I guess.
Yeah.
Hopefully he gets washed away too. But like,
Wasn't
it's
there also
bad.
a thing a couple years ago where like Jeff Bezos' mansion was getting renovated, so he'd park his car on the street and just eat the fucking parking ticket because he can?
Yeah.
If you're in a situation like that, I think the local government should be able to step in and say, "Give me $30 million."
Yeah, exactly. And I do recognize the irony of wearing the Bill Clinton shirt today. We're talking about neoliberalism and its effects. I do understand the bill. It's ironic. Folks.
It is ironic.
It was a cool design that we just simply had to put on a t-shirt. But I do see the irony here. But I think that wraps it up on tariffs.
That does wrap it up on
Bad,
tariffs.
folks. This episode of Head in the Office is brought to you by Ground News.
Breaking news can often involve a whirlwind of misinformation, and if you want to get to the heart of a story quickly, our friends over at Ground News can help.
Ground News is a resource you can get on your phone or your computer that collects headlines and stories from around the world and puts them in one place to allow you to compare coverage, check political biases, and see how each publication is funded.
Using Ground News, you can see who's reporting on each story, what their political leanings are, and you can even see news that is going unreported by the right or the left. Ground News offers you an individual breakdown of the content that you've consumed so that you can be aware of your own media diet. Overall, it is a great tool to help understand how narratives are emerging on both sides of the political spectrum them in real time.
If you want to help out the show, which we know you want to do, and get a discount on Ground News, go to check.ground.news/headintheoffice for 40% off. Link is also in the description. Their Vantage plan offers all the features we referenced and more.
Special thanks to Ground News for sponsoring this podcast. Now back to the show. And now it's time to transition into more deportation news.
Oh, good.
Because, boy, has it really been a week. The two big stories were pretty much a specific deportation that happened that we're going to talk about, and the tariffs. So let's get right into it. Another story kind of popped off earlier this week. That's just another awful entry in Trump's use of the Alien Enemies Act. You gotta love to hear it.
Yeah, it's like every week it gets more brazen. Like last week,
every week it literally does get more brazen. Yeah.
Last week it was plainclothes officers just like surrounding a woman.
Yeah. Week before it was a plainclothes officer in a Marvel t-shirt thinking he's the superhero.
Yeah.
Boy, the irony.
Mahmoud Khalil. Yeah. It's just it's tough out here, folks.
And last week we covered, while we're talking about it, we covered the criteria that ICE is using to determine if you're part of a Tren de Aragua.
Yes.
Some of that being wearing a soccer jersey or having tattoos, something that many of us do.
Well, yeah, and importantly, the scorecard was you need 8 points to be considered a member of TDA. But maybe it's 6 or 7. If you talk to someone from TDA, that's 6 points.
And each individual tattoo is 4 points. So if you have 2 tattoos, buddy, you're fucked. Like, I'm sorry, it's over for you.
Yeah.
So that's great. And we also talked about the sort of willful and intentional suspension of due process for the people Trump is deporting back to Venezuela and to just the concentration camp in El Salvador.
Yeah.
That's literally what it is. I wish the media would call it that because it's real. Quite literally a labor camp that people are being sent to. CECOT is fucked.
Yeah, it's a slave colony.
It's not a good place, people. And we've literally seen examples of ICE deporting people because of just incredibly benign tattoos. I'm going to read you some instances here. There was the case of Neri Alvarado. He was a baker who lived in Dallas since 2023. A Mother Jones investigation revealed that ICE officers, after detaining him, told him they're detaining and interrogating all Venezuelans with tattoos. What was his most prominent tattoo, you may ask? A rainbow autism awareness tattoo.
Nice.
He was then sent to CECOT.
Oh, he's at CECOT now?
He's at CECOT
oh my
right now,
God.
as we fucking speak. This guy had an autism awareness tattoo for his 15-year-old brother who has autism, and he got fucking sent to CECOT from this. That alone should be an egregious human rights abuse that could get this fucker impeached. Like, I'm sorry, that's fucked up. That should be a national scandal. That should be an international scandal that the president of the United States is doing this. Someone who calls himself the leader of the free world.
Yeah, no, Trump should be like in The Hague defending himself right now.
Absolutely.
Yeah, like that's crazy.
And it gets worse. And it gets worse. ImmigrationImpact.com also highlighted a case where a gay makeup artist, Andy Hernandez, was also sent to CECOT because he has 2 tattoos. One says mom and the other says dad, but they both have crowns over them. ICE is alleging that the crowns mean he's in Tren de Aragua. Fucking lock up every white boy with a lion tattoo with the crown on it, brother. What are we doing? What the fuck are we doing?
No, this shit should be like Nuremberg trials level of bad.
No, this is Nazi shit. This is like, it gotta be like as bad as what those fuckers were doing.
Yeah.
Oh my God, this is crazy. And we skipped the ghettos.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say like early on they were forcing Jewish people into ghettos and that sort of thing. But I mean, it's sort of the same thing. We're just sending them somewhere where reporters can't find them.
Yeah.
So
yeah, except Kristi Noem can go there and say that she's looking at the worst of the worst criminals. Gay barber with mom and dad tattoos and a guy with an autism awareness tattoo for his little brother.
Yeah, it does very much feel like early 1930s type stuff is happening right now.
Yeah. It's fucked up. Yeah. Like, it's so bad.
Like, ICE agents do seem like an SS type force right now.
They're walking around in plain clothes and just abducting people.
Yes.
And interrogating anybody with tattoos. Any brown person with tattoos. How do they know they're Venezuelan?
There's no due process.
I don't know, man. It's kind of fucked up. And in the same vein as that last guy, a Venezuelan pro soccer player was also sent to the El Salvador labor camp, even though he had no criminal record, because he had a tattoo of a soccer ball with a crown over it. And there's a picture of him on social media, quote, throwing the horns, whatever the fuck that means, making a symbol with his hand, because, you can't do anything or else you're in a gang now. The soccer ball with the crown was explicitly a reference to Real Madrid, his favorite soccer team. You can't even have fucking soccer tattoos and be brown anymore without the Trump administration bagging you off the street and sending you to a concentration camp.
It's just profiling.
Sending you to a fucking labor camp with a zero idleness policy where you're crammed into a cell with actual dangerous gang members.
Yeah. I mean, it's like torture and slavery every single day.
Some people are calling it a torture camp.
Yeah.
Like, it's fucked up there. It's bad. The fact that we even agreed to have not a prisoner exchange, but a prisoner deal with them where they take our worst of the worst should have been a red flag. Yeah. Should have been disqualifying.
And it's like, I'm sure we'll talk about this dynamic when we get into the next guy here, but if any of these people are in the United States seeking asylum from Venezuelan gangs and you send them to an El Salvadorian prison where a lot of Venezuelan gang members are, you're basically killing them.
Yeah. Oh,
like,
absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like, you're basically sending them to their death.
It's fucked up. Like, you come to this country for asylum. You come to this country to be safe, and you're just getting sent to an almost objectively worse place.
Not even back to the country you came from.
Yeah.
You're getting sent to El Salvador.
At least you could, like, hide there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or at least you could, like, try again, go somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
No, you're getting sent to prison.
Without due process. You're getting sent to a slave colony.
It's fucked up. And it's like, while we've been aware of these cases for, I think, like, the last 2 weeks, last week was where we really kind of saw, like, the autism awareness case popped off. We talked about it last week on the episode. We alluded to it. A new case emerged this week that was somehow more egregious than what we've just talked about. I'm sure you're aware of it, but you know us in this show, we're going to get into it. So on Monday, news broke that a Maryland father was arrested, detained, and deported to El Salvador. The man, Kilmar Abrego Garcia, was arrested by ICE on March 12th, then sent to El Salvador, CECOT, on March 15th. His wife noted that once he was sent out of the country, she had no means of knowing his location or where he was sent. Mm-hmm. She was able to track him through the ICE detention thing until he got put on the plane, and so she had no idea what was going on with this guy. Couldn't communicate him. It wasn't until she recognized his scars and tattoos in a video the El Salvadorian president posted to X of inmates who just arrived at CECOT that she knew where he was.
That's crazy.
That's fucked up.
And she's an American citizen, right?
She's an American citizen, yeah. That's fucked up.
Yeah.
We shouldn't be accepting this in any sort of free country or any sort of country that calls themselves free. But that's not even the most fucked up part about the case. Mm-hmm. In a court filing that the Trump administration filed on April 1st, the Trump administration admitted that sending that guy to El Salvador was a, quote, administrative error and a, also, quote, clerical mistake because he was actually granted protection from deportation specifically to El Salvador in 2019 by an immigration judge.
Mm-hmm. This guy had already been accused of being here illegally as a gang member.
Yeah.
And he was provided specific protection under his due process rights.
Living
and then he just got deported.
As a legal resident because of this protection that he was given. And they're like, oh, guys, we made a oopsie. We sent the guy to the torture camp on accident.
We just committed a human rights violation. Whoops. Can't do anything about it, though. We just sent someone to a slave colony. Oh, well.
Oh, well. My bad. Sorry, I'll get him next time. I'll pay more attention next time. Like, that's not just like a fuck up. That's not just like you put 11 nuggets in the bag. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you did a bad thing, like an objectively bad, horrible, heinous thing. And so naturally after this broke, it made big news. And the administration literally admitted in court that they fucked up and sent a man to a concentration camp that they were explicitly not allowed to send to a concentration camp. Mm-hmm. It doesn't get much worse than that. And this fact did not stop the usual suspects from lying to try to cover their ass. J.D. Vance got on X and tweeted, quote, "It's gross to get fired up about gang members getting deported while ignoring citizens they victimized." He supported this tweet with pictures of court documents from 2019 trying to push the idea that this man is a member of MS-13.
Yeah.
Insane. This line of defense that ICE and the administrative, figureheads are engaging in rests on these 2019 proceedings that concluded that he could not be deported to El Salvador. In that court case, it was alleged by ICE that Abrego Garcia was a member of MS-13. The evidence that ICE put forth was that local police verified his gang membership by saying he wore a Chicago Bulls hat and hoodie and that they got a confidential informant's tip that he was a member of MS-13's Western Clique in Long Island, New York, a place he has never lived in his life.
That's insane.
So in a way, ICE hasn't got worse. They just got more power. You know what I'm saying? In a way, they've always been trying to do this. You wear a fucking Chicago Bulls hat, and now you're in a gang?
Yeah, you're a fan of Michael Jordan, and now you're in a gang. What's going on? What the fuck? That's a true American sport right there.
That's what I'm saying. A basketball. That's fucked up. That's really fucked up.
Wearing some Bulls merchandise gets you sent to El Salvador?
Wearing Bulls merchandise, that's 6 points.
Yeah.
That's 6 points right there. And, maybe a 6 or 7 can get you sent. And so naturally he fought these claims and the judge rules in his favor. And since then, he's fully complied with the conditions of his protected status and checked in with ICE every single year.
Yeah.
This guy has been a model citizen since he's been in the country, never once involved in a gang, never once proved in court that he was in a gang. Yeah. As his lawyer points points out he, quote, has neither been convicted nor charged with any crime, and that the Justice Department had multiple chances to legally deport him that they never followed through with. They didn't even try to pursue an appeal for the 2019 ruling.
Yeah, and conservatives say all the time, we want immigrants here, we just want them to do it legally. This guy has done everything by the book.
I mean, he came here illegally, but like then he was granted his protected status.
Yeah, he's done everything by the book since then. Yeah. And now
a model citizen, really.
Yeah.
Better than most Americans. Some Americans.
He's done nothing wrong. He's done nothing to hurt people, and now he's in a slave colony. By accident, by admitted accident.
And they said, oopsies.
Yeah.
Ooh, sorry.
Yeah, and J.D. Vance was like out here arguing with fucking one of the hosts of Pod Save America on Twitter, basically saying like, oh, it looks like you didn't read the court case. And the court filing that he linked was literally the one saying that this guy has no connections with MS-13.
Like, Loki, you should be arrested for that.
Yeah.
Loki, you should be put in jail for lying this hard. Like, I feel like, maybe I'm going to start clamping down on the First Amendment, but I feel like you should not be in a position of power and like willfully lie this hard to people.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if I'm just coping because things are so bad right now, but like things are so bad because these people are allowed to use their power to just like manipulate people and lie more. And that's like fundamentally antithetical to the idea of democracy.
He's being like maliciously dishonest.
Exactly. Yeah. There is actual malice behind these statements. Like the actual malice here lies in the fact that he's being dishonest to support the fact that a guy's in a concentration camp now.
Yeah. After his administration said that this was an accident, he kept saying that this guy was a member of MS-13.
Yeah.
To justify their actions. And also just to point on like him saying that we're focused on the deportation of, illegal immigrants while we should be focused on the people that they victimize.
Yeah.
It's like, again, you're making broad, sweeping generalizations about people that have no due process that are scooped up and sent to a fucking slave colony.
Doug, we're talking about one guy.
We're talking about one guy.
We're talking about one guy in here that has been proven in a court of law to like plausibly not be a part of MS-13. And you're saying, oh, wow, so what about all the people what about Laken Riley? Like, what are we doing, man?
Where was Laken Riley's due process?
Like, what the fuck is going on?
Oh, a white girl is killed by an immigrant, and suddenly that's justification to get every immigrant off the street.
Exactly.
What are we talking
every
about?
Immigrant is secretly victimizing people.
Especially if they have a tattoo.
They've replaced the country. Look, Democrats imported them to vote. You know what I'm saying? But with all that in mind, ICE Field Office Director of Enforcement and Removal Operations, Robert Cerna, said in a statement that somehow this illegal deportation was, quote, carried out in good faith based on the existence of a final order of removal and Abrego Garcia's purported membership in MS-13. In other words, we just kind of did it anyway because we thought he was a bad guy.
There's no redeeming qualities to ICE.
We thought he was a bad guy. So but somehow even worse than J.D. Vance and this ICE guy's response was enemy of the show Caroline Leavitt's response at a White House press briefing. I am going to let this almost 3-minute long clip speak for itself.
Okay.
We don't put 3-minute long clips out here often. I don't know if we ever have, but man, this one is just like, there's something here.
Remarkable.
There's something remarkable in the way that she just lies.
Okay.
So I'm going to roll the clip right now.
The administration has expressed a complete confidence in how all the deportation flights to El Salvador were conducted. But now that the administration has conceded that there was an error of one Salvadoran national, will there be any reviews conducted? And does the president express any thoughts on the one error that was disclosed in court last night?
Well, first of all, the error that you are referring to was a clerical error. It was an administrative error. The administration maintains the position that this individual who was deported to El Salvador and will not be returning to our country was a member of the brutal and vicious MS-13 gang. That is fact number one. Fact number two, we also have credible intelligence proving that this individual was involved in human trafficking. And fact number three, this individual was a member, actually a leader of the brutal MS-13 gang, which this president has designated as a foreign terrorist organization. Fact number four is that foreign terrorists do not have legal protections in the United States of America anymore. And it is within the president's executive authority and power to deport these heinous individuals from American communities. It is a promise he campaigned on. It is a promise he is keeping. And every single person in this room should be grateful for that, considering especially MS-13 is very prevalent and prominent here in the District of of Columbia, in Maryland, and in Virginia, and the president, the attorney general, everyone who has been involved in these operations is focused on eradicating these criminals and terrorists from our communities.
The vice president said he was a convicted member of MS-13. What evidence is there to back that up?
Good question.
There's a lot of evidence, and the Department of Homeland Security and ICE have that evidence, and I saw it this morning.
You said you'd seen evidence that this man was a convicted gang member. In what court was he convicted and for what?
This individual was an MS-13 ringleader. This individual was also engaged in human trafficking. And I'm glad you brought up this point again, because I would like to point out that if you just saw the headline from the insane, failing Atlantic magazine this morning, you would think this individual was Father of the Year, living in Maryland, living a peaceful life, when that couldn't be further from the truth. They didn't even mention in the title of that article, or even in the first paragraph, that this individual is an illegal criminal who broke our nation's immigration laws. He is a leader in the brutal MS-13 gang, and he is involved in human trafficking, and now MS-13 is a designated foreign terrorist organization. Foreign terrorists have no legal protections in the United States of America, and this administration is going to continue to deport foreign terrorists and illegal criminals from our nation's interior.
The administration has expressed...
You know, actually, Osama bin Laden, had a trial, too. The guy that was almost defended Diddy had defended Osama bin Laden before. So, I mean, there's even, untruths to that. But it's they asked, what evidence do you have? She's, I saw the evidence myself.
Mm-hmm.
You're just lying. There's no fucking evidence. I saw it. I watched it happen. I watched the whole thing happen. I actually watched him order MS-13 lackeys around all the time. I saw him do it. You know, actually, we got this device on the planes that looks at the character of your soul, and we analyzed its contents, and we saw that it had a funny little mustache on it. We saw that he actually was Hitler. So
he had hate in his heart.
Yeah, we saw that he had hate in his heart. So we sent him to a concentration camp to be tortured.
If you have all this evidence, why not show it in a court of law and prove your case?
Exactly.
Then nobody would question you.
Oh, no, I saw it. No,
Yeah.
I, the fucking press secretary, saw the evidence this morning that was never presented to the court, that was never presented to anybody else. He was never convicted. The evidence that was, frankly, rejected by a court previously. This is what I mean when, this is worse than J.D. Vance. At least J.D. Vance published the thing that proved him wrong. Mm-hmm. She's out there saying not only is he in fact a member of MS-13, actually he's a ringleader too. Actually it just gets worse. Actually, he's the top guy of MS-13. Actually, I watched him fucking kill somebody.
Yeah, after the administration already admitted that they didn't mean to deport him.
Yeah.
That it was an administrative error, as she said.
He's a ringleader involved in human trafficking. Brother, we're just pulling shit out of our ass. Mm-hmm. You should not be allowed to be the White House press secretary, to be somebody who corresponds with the press and disseminates news about the happenings of this administration and the American people, and literally maliciously lie.
Yeah.
There is malice in her heart and eyes when she says this.
Yeah, the claim was at first he's just a member of MS-13, and then suddenly he's a ringleader. Oh, and a human trafficker.
She just kept escalating to make it worse, and lying about having evidence.
And I love the stray at the Atlantic, because she's like, if you saw the headline, you'd think he's Father of the Year. They didn't even mention he's an illegal immigrant. He's not now.
He's not now. He's actually a legal resident now.
He was here legally after he had gone to the immigration court and pled his case for not being a gang member.
Yeah, he once entered the country illegally, but it's not really on his record. He was complying with ICE. He was showing up to all of his things. He's a legal resident, married to an American citizen, raising American citizens.
Yeah, it's if you enter illegally and then, you seek asylum or you eventually get a green card or whatever it is, that doesn't mean that you're an illegal immigrant forever.
Yeah.
It's not like a stain on you forever. You have your documents.
You fucking car crashes get wiped off you. The points get wiped off your license eventually. You know what I'm saying? But
to be an illegal immigrant, quote unquote, is to not have documentation.
Yeah.
This guy had documentation.
He got it.
He wasn't an illegal immigrant.
He got it. He did the process.
And nobody was saying, oh, he was Father of the Year. He's the greatest person to ever live. It's just he has human rights.
And it's what's her point? If Father of the Year, why in concentration camp?
Yeah.
How could you be Father of the Year and end up in a concentration camp, huh? I wouldn't have done that. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't have put you there. What the fuck, man?
Doesn't make any sense.
Man.
Yeah. It's fucking terrible. She
it's
sucks.
Uniquely fucked up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And just remember, these people do not care for due process at all. And if this can happen to somebody who is literally federally protected from being deported to El Salvador, yet was still deported to El Salvador, this can happen to anybody that they decide it can happen to. The suspension of due process for any one person means that they can suspend due process for any one person. Mm-hmm. it's not. It's the poem. It's the cliche poem.
I was gonna say it's very much a first they came for the socialist type moment. First they came for the immigrants, and I did nothing because I wasn't an immigrant. That's exactly what it feels like.
Yeah,
it's like there's no due process for these people. Due process is like the fundamental protection you have against government action against you, and if it doesn't exist for them, and slowly it encroaches on new and more marginalized groups of people, and eventually gets to you, there's not going to be anyone left to defend you because everyone else is gone.
And it's just like looking at all the shit, looking at that goddamn 3-minute video of just lies. It's like words don't mean anything anymore. Mm-hmm. You can just throw around human trafficking. Like truth does not fundamentally mean anything anymore to these people.
It's interesting because the left is usually charged with a sort of nihilism from the right, like because they'll claim that the left doesn't really believe in anything because they believe anybody can be whatever they want, and like there's no fundamental human nature and stuff like that. But then suddenly nothing means anything to the right wing.
Absolutely.
They can just claim things and they never have to actually substantiate what they claim. They can just say stuff.
They're almost like genuinely acting like Trump has like the divine mandate, the fucking mandate of kings, you know what I mean? The divine right to rule, and anything he says is the law, anything he deems is the truth is the truth. When it's like that's not how that shit works. Like not even in like a postmodern liberal way, you know? I'm the one who's supposed to be in the bag like, oh, truth can be subjective, blah, 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 blah. But now I got to sit here and defend the rule of law now that we're sending people to concentration camps.
I got to explain Enlightenment ideals. It's fucked up, man. I don't want to be in this position.
I'm supposed to be pushing the envelope.
I want to be an enemy of the Enlightenment.
Exactly.
I want to be born from the Enlightenment to be hostile to it, but now I got to explain objective truth.
I'm trying to usher in like the paradigm shift, like the abundance agenda.
But better.
Even the abundance agenda would be preferable to what we got going on now. Let me fucking tell you, man. Oh my God. And it's like, I feel like the point has gone like understated, but very salient. If they're making this kind of egregious of mistakes and admitting this one, imagine what else is slipping through the cracks.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like, also it just continues to get worse. After admitting they fucked up, before they tried to literally slander this man's name, they tried to argue that they can't possibly bring him back to the U.S. because they have no jurisdiction over El Salvador.
Yeah.
That was a serious line of argument that they submitted, and like, oh, we can't do anything, bro. Our hands are tied. He's already in the camp. Like, just leave him there.
It's total fucking nonsense. If we went to the president of El Salvador and said, you have to return this guy, he would do it.
Yeah.
They would find a way to do it.
Absolutely.
They just don't want him coming back because he will talk about the conditions of the prison. And we'll find out just how bad it is once he gets
bro's going to get sent to The Hague.
And of course, they'll say that he's lying. They'll write it off and stuff like that. But, if he's the first one to do it, and journalists get more and more interested in these conditions, then they'll try to find out the truth.
Exactly.
And they don't want that to happen.
No, they got to be scared to death of that shit. But like in the first good development of this whole mess on Friday, a federal judge ruled that Alberto Garcia must be returned to the U.S. by the end of day Monday. Shout out Sunday supremacists. You don't know what's happened yet.
He's going to come back to a crashing market.
He's going to come back and his retirement's wiped out.
His retirement that he's been working for years now is going to be completely wiped out. He's been
investing in the market as a hobby. He's kind of like a day trader on the side trying to quit his day job at the metal fabrication facility. And all of it's gone. It's just completely wiped out, man. It's fucked. But like even this like good ruling has some layers to it, right? Even though the federal judge ruled that he's got to be brought back to the country, the administration's got to figure it out. Some interesting things were revealed when we looked behind the curtain. During the hearing, it's reported that the Justice Department lawyer charged with arguing for the deportation literally could not make a case for it, saying, quote, "We concede the facts. The plaintiff should not have been removed," end quote.
I know the DOJ lawyers are like fed up at this point.
I don't even care. They should quit their jobs.
They should absolutely quit. Like, they're complicit in a broader fascist scheme right here. But, like, they're just lawyers that work for the DOJ. They kind of just stick around for administrations. So I bet when this dude showed up and he saw, like, the case in front of him, he's just like, I have no fucking idea.
So what am I supposed to fucking do, dog? And it's like...
Yeah. Like, he should quit and spill all the information to reporters, but, yeah.
Even outside of, like, conceding the facts of the case, like he said in that quote, the judge then asked the Justice Department lawyer if he could produce documents showing that there was an arrest warrant or order of removal. The lawyer said he could not provide either document, but argued that there was an order of removal on file. Brother, that's your job to get that. You are hindering this man being in the torture camp, in the torture death camp, on the fact that there was an order of removal filed, and you can't even bring it to court?
Yeah, he's like, you wouldn't know her. She goes to another school.
Exactly. Yeah, no. I saw it, though. Me and Caroline Levitt saw it. I showed it to her. She showed it to me, actually, after the press briefing. So, like, Judge, Your Honor, I promise you it's there. The judge also asked how the detention and deportation process began. And the lawyer said, I don't know.
Fake ass Justice Department. What the fuck?
Bro's probably getting paid crazy bucks an hour just to go, I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
Shit, I don't know.
But I could show up and do that. Shit, I don't know. Your Honor, shit, I don't know.
If I had no morals, I could take this guy's job. Oh, shit, I don't know. No, I promise you he's a part of Tren de Aragua,
Your Honor,
or whatever. MS-13, I don't know.
Your Honor, I couldn't tell you.
What gang is he a part of? I don't know, but he had a Chicago Bulls shirt on one time, so I think he fucks with Jordan over Braun.
Well, you should get deported for that. That's what
I'm saying, yeah. Oh, my God, man. But it's like, despite the fact that this government lawyer had just no defense whatsoever, the Trump admin still filed an appeal.
Of course.
They are deathly afraid of this guy coming back and telling people what they are doing to these Venezuelan migrants in CECOT.
Yeah.
Because it's bad. Like, journalists who have been there said that it's a torture camp.
Yeah, and I've seen the argument that, like, a judge has no jurisdiction to order this because it'd be the same thing as saying, like, a judge orders Trump to end the war in Ukraine. But the difference is that we are choosing to send people to El Salvador.
We have a partnership with them to send them in exchange for, like, money. Like, we're quite literally selling...
Taxpayer money's being sent to them.
We are selling slaves.
Yeah. Like, we are like actively complicit in what's happening in a way that we aren't when it comes to Russia and Ukraine.
Yeah. Like, we are a party involved in this.
Precisely.
We're not a party involved in the Ukraine-Russia war in any, like, meaningful way like we are here.
Yeah.
It's a partnership, dog.
Yeah.
And I don't, you know what? I fuck it. I don't even care. We should get him back, even if we have to invade CECOT. We should get everybody we sent there back. That place is fucking crazy.
Yeah, like there's no reason these people can't be tried under American laws in American prisons if they actually committed a crime. But of course, if they had due process, then it would take longer. And as Stephen Miller said, then the invasion will be complete.
Exactly. Yeah. Then the voters, you know what I mean? The demographics shift.
Then another election will come along and they'll be able to vote.
And then we will have been greatly replaced. If you wink, wink, if you catch my grift, you know what I'm saying? But like, man, they're just like ideologically invested in sending as many brown people as possible away to a actual concentration camp. And this is white supremacy. We bring up Stephen Miller, chief white supremacist, but like it's plain and simple. There's no reasonable position you can take to defend this administration's actions here. They said they fucked up. They said they sent this guy over on an error. And they're refusing to bring him back for no explainable reason. And even going back to the Caroline Levitt clip, because that shit is still blowing my mind. She said, yeah, it was a clerical error, as if the only error in this process was like a typo.
Yeah.
This was not a typo. This was you doing an explicitly illegal act defying the court order.
Yeah, and everybody out there that's like, oh, illegal immigrants don't get due process. First of all, yes, they do. But you're only saying that because they're not white.
Oh, that's the dumbest motherfuckers on the planet.
Because they're a part of a group you have deemed undesirable. Everybody gets due process. The 14th Amendment is not worded in such a way where it says only citizens are equal under the law. All people are equal under the law. So fuck off with that.
And it's also like you... as some, like, I don't know, dumbass from North Carolina is getting out here trying to argue that, like, this guy should have due process, blah, 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 he's a gang member. The government itself isn't even trying to make that argument, so you look stupider trying to do so. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Maybe if the government was trying to argue in court that, yes, this is why he's a gang member, you got something there. But you're just on your own here, buddy.
It's fucked up.
It's fucked up.
It's fucked up.
That's really fucked up. And I think it's incredibly important to note that, like, this is the first mistake they've admitted to. It's not the first mistake that happened. There's another case that immigrationimpact.com highlighted this week. It's the case of Frengel Reyes. I hope I said that right. Reyes was sent to CECOT despite having no tattoos or criminal history here or in Venezuela. The Miami Herald did a report and found in its investigation that on Reyes's like I-213 form, which is the document the Department of Homeland Security uses to support that someone is deportable, it says he may be a TDA associate, a Tren de Aragua associate. However...
Not a ringleader or human trafficker.
Not a ringleader or human trafficker, but maybe that's what Caroline Levitt would say. However, in those same documents, the government says he has no criminal record or immigration history in the United States. The government also uses someone else's last name in several parts of the document, identifies him with female pronouns, and uses two different unique identification numbers that immigration authorities use to keep track of individuals.
Books are fucked.
That's like using two different social security numbers. They literally created like some Frankenstein's monster of paperwork just so they could get any excuse possible. Some wicked amalgam of paperwork of identities so that they could send somebody to the torture camp. They're pulling out all the stops here and think they're not going to get away with it.
Yeah.
That's fucked up.
That's literally like Soviet Union type stuff.
Yeah.
Like they would have a mountain of paperwork just so they could get you on one thing and send you to a gulag.
They're cooking the books.
Yeah.
Literally. How do you fuck up the paperwork this bad?
Like the Soviet Union used to have like, I think they were called hooliganism laws. So they could basically, it was a law that just let them get you on anything.
Shit, lock me up.
But it allowed them to basically get you on anything. They had so many like stacks of paperwork on you,
of course,
that if they ever needed to jail you, they could do it. They would have whatever justification they need. That's this.
Yeah.
Like you have any justification just to send them to a gulag because you have this, as you said, Frankenstein's monster of paperwork.
Oh my God, man, it's fucked up. And it's like, just like the other case, like it low-key gets worse when we go to court and see what the administration's arguing. He was supposed to have an immigration hearing because he was an asylum seeker from Venezuela. So he was, had a hearing scheduled. He gets deported before that hearing, gets deported before, surprise, surprise, any due process gets to happen.
Of course.
But his lawyer still has to show up and argue against DHS. And at the hearing, after the deportation, a judge asked lawyers from DHS whether or not this was a mistake, to which the DHS lawyers argued this was not a hearing to analyze evidence, but we'll look into it.
What's the hearing? What's the hearing for if not to analyze evidence?
I think it was for his asylum case, but he's been deported now, so it doesn't even fucking matter.
Oh my God.
But they're oh, we can't comment on that right now. That objection, that's not what this is about, sir. That's not the legal question at hand.
It's literally like the Nazis saying, yeah, we'll look into the crimes we committed against Jewish people.
We'll investigate ourselves. Don't worry. I've investigated myself and found that we did nothing wrong, actually.
Yeah, the IDF
This was just a simple
reasoning.
clerical error. You don't understand. We got mountains of lawyers in the back doing AI tools to make sure every strike is justified. And funnily enough, there are no more hearings in this case scheduled in the foreseeable future. So shit's wicked out there.
Yeah.
And again, just even with all this, the dumbest motherfuckers in the world are gathering in our Instagram comments to say shit like non-citizens and gang members shouldn't get due process. And my favorite, why does a judge have to be the one to determine whether or not someone is a gang member? Maybe because that's their job.
It's in the name.
It's in the name.
They judge judges.
And maybe it's important to have a semi-neutral, at least, even though judges aren't completely neutral, third party to assess the facts of a case so that, I don't know, someone like say, ICE agent who may be ideologically invested in kicking out as many brown people as possible can't just do it for no reason. Mm-hmm. That sounds like a good system.
Yeah, it's like our immigration courts are already flooded because there's not enough immigration judges, and our immigration laws are already not in the favor of immigrants. You're already likely to get deported. So it's not like it's not like it's a bias-free zone, but at the very least, there's a semblance of due process there that could have protected some of the worst abuses of human rights over these past few weeks. But that even isn't getting applied.
No,
a fundamental feature or fundamental motivating idea of our legal system is that it's better to let 100 guilty people go free than one innocent person suffer for no reason.
Yeah.
And we have flipped that on its head.
Oh, absolutely.
We are fucking punishing the life out of innocent people. And it's bad.
And that's a Hideo axiom too. We talk about this all the time. We're talking about Medicare cuts and Social Security cuts. I would rather a situation where some people get to scam Medicare than some people die because they can't access their prescriptions or the care that they need. That's a good system.
Well, yeah, because fundamentally, if the government says that it's trying to protect people, yet innocent people can be deported and sent to a slave colony, then who are you protecting?
Yeah.
You're not protecting anybody if innocent people can get caught up and sent to the slave colony or potentially killed in this prison.
And it's like that Maryland father came here fleeing gangs in El Salvador, fleeing MS-13 in El Salvador, only to have the Trump administration fucking black bag him and deport him back to the place that he fled, put him in a fucking terrorist containment concentration camp with the people he fled from, while Caroline Leavitt gets on and says, oh, this guy's actually a ringleader. He's going to have a great time in CECOT.
Gets to fucking lie.
He's going to be running shit. That's so malicious.
Yeah.
That's so malicious and bad.
It is completely evil, but yeah.
But that wraps up immigration news.
That's immigration news, folks. Is bad.
Stay safe out there. All my friends got SSNs.
Yeah, I have a feeling next several weeks, maybe next several months, the episodes will be all about immigration and tariffs.
To a week.
That seems like the direction that we are heading in. But for now, we can get into a couple of extras. The first is, again, ancient history, the Cory Booker filibuster.
Yeah.
This happened on Monday of last week, and it was fun. It was
cool.
I
think so. Yeah.
He some people on the left were like, oh, it's just a performance, but performances in politics are a part of the game. Yeah. Sometimes you have to perform. Part of politics is a performance, and it's also not lost on me the significance of what he did, beating Strom Thurmond's record as a black man himself. Of course, Strom Thurmond was filibustering a civil rights law.
Crazy.
Cory Booker, a black man, was filibustering against the Trump administration just generally. I wish he had done it on a specific thing.
I think so too. Yeah.
But all the same, it's a performance, and I think the sort of historical significance of it is real.
It's just like, I feel like it shouldn't be lost on people that, like, low-key, because Chuck Schumer let that fuck-ass budget bill pass, performance is really the only thing you can do now as a congressperson.
Yeah, and he couldn't have done that for that bill because there was already the Democratic votes to pass it.
Exactly.
Like he could have tried to filibuster, but they would have just voted for cloture and he wouldn't have been able to do it. So it wouldn't have mattered.
Performance is all we got, and it's like, performance does mean something. You know what I mean? As corny and awful as it was, no conservatives complained when at like CPAC 2022, they had a fucking cage constructed in the middle of the thing with not immigrants, with like white people sitting in there pretending to be January 6th protesters or prisoners. You remember that? You remember the whole display? Marjorie Taylor Greene came and prayed with the guy who was pretending he was locked up in the middle of CPAC.
And for some reason, he didn't have his shoes on.
Yeah.
He had the dogs out for no fucking reason. Yeah, no, I remember that.
I remember that. Conservatives weren't complaining about that. I'm not going to complain about this.
Yeah.
Do I wish he would have talked about some certain things more? Would I wish he would have got up there and just read off an explainer of dialectical materialism? Sure.
He should have read Das Kapital. Exactly. That would take 25 hours.
Real. But like, I don't know. I don't expect that, especially right now. I'm just glad somebody's trying to do something.
Yeah.
The Bernie rallies, those are also performative in a way too. Like those aren't actually enacting policy. But it's good because it's getting people aware of things. Like it's getting a headline, it's getting attention, it's getting in front of people. That's all you can do right now.
And he said some good stuff. Like he talked about how the Democratic Party has failed and hasn't like lived up to the moment. He said like him personally, like he needs to do more. So, I mean, I'll take that recognition. I mean, some people have brought up that like immediately after he voted for more money to Israel, and like, I get it.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
yeah.
When we're talking about anti-Zionism, pickings are slim when it comes to senators, of course. And it's a valid criticism. You should hate him for doing that. But that doesn't change the fact that the Democratic Party is the only organized political bloc in the country right now, like with political power. So them doing performances to this extent, I think, is fine and should be, critiqued in some ways, but I think accepted and platformed.
Wasn't it also, didn't he get on there like towards the end of his speech? He's like, yeah, I can't hate Strom Thurmond. Brother, why?
I think that was in an interview he said that, but yeah,
why can't you hate Strom Thurmond?
You got to remind people he's a liberal. It's like, I am a liberal. These sacred halls.
Okay. There's a building or a hall named after Strom Thurmond. We should take that down.
Yeah,
that's kind of fucked up.
You know who gave Strom Thurmond's eulogy at his funeral?
Was it Joe Biden?
It was Joe Biden. That fact is always funny to me. Back in 2003, that wasn't that long ago.
That was not that long ago.
2003, Joe Biden gave the eulogy for Strom Thurmond. One of the biggest like segregationists of this. I mean, he gave it the longest filibuster ever before Cory Booker.
For segregation.
For segregation in the 50s. Like, holy moly, man. Like that's crazy.
And that's back before they had like active cameras going. Like, man.
Mm-hmm. He did it for love of the game. Yeah, he did it for love of the game. I think it's cool to unequivocally hate Strom Thurmond.
I think so too. I think if there's like a couple figures that you would just like, hey, that's certainly a candidate.
He's evil.
Him, Robert E. Lee, like segregation was bad.
In some other news, Elon Musk dropped $20 million on that Wisconsin Supreme Court race and got smoked.
Didn't that become like the most expensive like state race ever?
Yeah, exactly.
Just to lose by 10 points?
Just to lose by 10 points. And he's been quiet since then. There's some headlines that have released like Trump saying that Elon Musk is going to part from the administration soon. I'll believe it when I see it.
That's what I'm saying.
I'm not sold on that actually happening, but if it does happen, I wouldn't be surprised if the reason that it happens is because Elon Musk is a loser. like politically a loser, I mean.
Bro literally got out there and bribed people.
Yeah.
He literally got out there and bribed people with millions of dollars for saying he was going to give them $20 if they posted a picture doing a thumbs up with the picture.
Yeah.
And like that shouldn't be allowed.
At that same event, that Elon Musk was handing out $1 million big checks, there were people in the crowd that started heckling him, and he accused them of being paid protesters from George Soros. At the same event, he is bribing people to vote. Bribing people to vote for his candidate. He's accusing others of being paid plants. Like, it is beyond parody. It's so fucking insane.
That's fucking, and he got smoked.
He got smoked,
and they lost by 10 points.
Yeah.
Holy shit, man. That's crazy. That's good.
If he does end up receding from the limelight, the political limelight, I'm going to miss being able to make fun of him, but I will rejoice that he's not around as much.
I'm not going to stop making fun of every time he's in the public eye, though.
Yeah. And it works on him.
It does work on him.
Like, I don't know if our content's ever got to him. Maybe the jumping video.
It's 4 million views. Like, it very well could have.
It might have got to his screen because we know he's chronically online. But we do know that, generally speaking, making fun of Elon Musk does hurt him personally.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's all we got.
Sometimes it feels good.
Sometimes politics is driven by spite. And that's okay. Spite and resentment are powerful motivators.
He's using his wealth. That's cratering, by the way, with the market crash.
Shout out.
To usher forth evil.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, man.
For once, evil does not prevail.
I can't believe he hasn't been ousted from his companies yet. I cannot believe the shareholders haven't kicked him off of Tesla.
Something that's happened before.
It's something that...
He got ousted from PayPal.
Exactly,
Because he's a dumbass.
Like, how have they not done that yet? He's contributing to the administration. He has a direct advisory role in the administration that just cratered the market.
Yeah.
They lost so much money because of him.
I wonder if he'll get kicked out of Tesla.
I wish.
That would be so sad
I feel like
for
he's
him.
not going to get kicked out if he's not working for the government anymore. Honestly, though, I feel like he's not going to get kicked out if he hasn't already.
Yeah, maybe.
But I do hope that Tesla sinks below, God, what is it, like $200 a share or some shit like that? There's something like, I think it's like a margin call on his stuff, and he like something to do with the Twitter deal and the collateral that he put up for Twitter.
Oh, yeah, like all of his wealth is tied up in Tesla stock. Yeah, like I mean, because like that's how these guys get money is they take out lines of credits against the companies that they're associated with.
I don't fucking know finances and how rich people do things, but I think, isn't it like if Tesla stock falls below a certain amount, he like basically defaults on the loan that he took out to buy Twitter?
Maybe, yeah. I don't know exactly.
And then we get bank-owned Twitter.
Do we know
We know the number.
Oh, okay.
I think we know the number. I can't remember exactly what it was.
Yeah.
There's a whole lot of fancy terminology when it comes to stocks that I'm not equipped to deal with.
Yeah, but I was happy to see Elon Musk get clapped in Wisconsin. Yep. Susan Crawford won, so that's good. Wisconsin will be able to redraw their maps because I think there was like wicked proportions. It was like Republicans only needed 49% of the vote statewide to get like 2/3 of the seats.
God damn.
In the state Senate. Yeah, it was like gerrymandered to hell. So they can undo that.
They should cheat.
Positive. Yeah, they should reverse the cheating.
They should cheat.
So that's good. And also, there was a race in Florida where the margin for Trump in 2024 was, I think, like 30 points.
Okay.
And this guy only won by 10 points.
Oh.
It was a safe Trump district, this House member. He still won, the Republican one, but the margins were very, very thin.
And that's pre-tariffs.
That's pre-tariffs, and that's in Florida. So I think Republicans are starting to get a little worried. Democrats have been overperforming in special elections for a while now just because Trump has like a presidential election base lockdown that doesn't really turn out for special and midterm elections.
They don't really.
We don't know how this is going to shake out yet, but it's a good sign that Elon Musk got smoked in Wisconsin.
If things keep going the way they are, it's going to be a tremendous blue wave in 26, man.
If these tariffs stay in place, the blue wave will be biblical.
Biblical.
It will be biblical.
They'll get those tariffs reversed real quick as soon as that new Congress is sworn in.
Yeah.
Holy shit, man.
Oh man. Anyways, is there anything else on the docket today?
we got Al Green said he's going to bring articles of impeachment for Trump in the next 30 days. This is also purely performative, but I fuck with it. I fuck with it heavy. They brought like 30 against Joe Biden.
Yeah,
like,
they did.
What did Joe Biden even do, man? Like I'm sitting here just like flummoxed about how conservatives were able to get away with saying that Joe Biden was a divisive figure.
Yeah.
Just seeing where we are right now. And the things that are happening right now, the fucking tariffs, the DEI, the Jackie Robinson, it didn't matter that he was black, the removing trans people from Stonewall, the immigration, just human rights abuses that are going on. How the fuck did they get away with the child tax credit being divisive, with $15 minimum wage being the end of the world?
Yeah, and it's like similarly, the January 6th rioters got full due process. They had their day in court. Some of them were sent to jail or fined or whatever. They got all the rights afforded to citizens and people here in the United States.
Yeah.
And Republicans cried persecution when that happened. But then when people are being scooped up off the street, black bagged by plainclothes officers, having no due process, conservatives are like, no, that's actually good and cool. There's actually no persecution going on here. This is all totally lawful.
Well, they're gang
and in
members.
fact, if judges step in to stop them, that's the unlawful act.
Well, they're gang members, and I know that they're gang members because they said they weren't. And you would,
and the lack of evidence is evidence.
The lack of evidence, it truly is evidence. It really is.
Yeah.
So, take that one.
The party told you to deny your eyes and ears, or whatever that quote is.
Yes,
from
sir.
George Orwell.
Yes, sir.
Anyways, I don't think there's anything else I could think of. I mean, lots of stuff happening in the world, but those were the big stories.
Did we even talk about it when we were talking about tariffs? But Trump is trying to pressure the Fed to lower interest rates.
Cool. You know, if I was trying to deliberately cause a recession, that is exactly what I would do in this moment.
That's also just like, interest rates are not the thing that are stopping people like us from buying homes right now. There's like a fundamental mismatch in how people like that view the economy. Not that I think that Trump views economics in any like meaningful way or anything.
No,
like
he's
that,
got a coherent economic body of work.
But it's like it just coincides with this idea that they are intentionally trying to create a recession and lower interest rates, increasing inflation for all of us, so that his rich friends can just buy everything up for the low. You know what I mean? Decreasing interest rates, inflationary. We've criticized the idea that our economy is predicated on the idea that, like, when there's inflation, we got to stop poor people from being able to buy stuff before. But, like, in this current moment, that is the reality we live in. Don't decrease interest rates.
Yeah.
That would be bad.
Yeah, if more people, it would be really bad.
That's like very simple econ too. That's like the supply and demand curve. Like, man.
At a time when you're raising prices, you're going to flood the economy with more money. Yeah. Like, that's going to raise prices even more because demand's going to go, whatever, man.
Shit's fucked up.
Or maybe the dollar will just lose all of its value. You know what I mean?
True.
A $1 bill will be like a 0.1% of a dollar bill.
What's the
Biden.
Chinese currency?
Yeah. I'm about to have to learn Mandarin, man.
Absolutely. I'm starting my Duolingo streak. It's fucked up. Chinese century incoming.
I'm doing a bank run and I'm learning Mandarin on Duolingo.
Well, I'm doing a bank run and then doing a currency exchange run to convert it all to what, the Chinese yuan or something like that?
Yeah.
Hong Kong dollars? I'm going crazy.
Oh, it's bad out here.
But, in the meantime, I got to give a special thanks. And this episode, it really, truly is a special thanks now
Huge
that we
special.
finally told you all about what we've been cooking in the background, and we're going to be coming at you with 2 episodes a week in 4 short weeks.
And people of interest will finally make a return to some
People of
point.
interest will make a return. That's
what we've been cooking in the past few weeks. Also, the library thing that we did and the postcards. And we've had a lot of stuff going on.
We've been doing a lot. We've been busy folks in 2025.
Folks.
You know what I mean? Folks. And also busy trying to keep up with the news because there's been a whole lot of news. But now we low-key kind of have access to more interesting people of interest as well.
Yeah.
We've got even more things cooking in the background, let me tell you. But
Stuff's working on in the background.
Uber special thanks to the people that have got us to this point where we can low-key be living the dream, kind of. Thanks to Caden Kraut, Lord Tyler the Radiant, Chris the Postman, Christy Beck, Dylan B., Andrew Harris, Mike Tiplinski, Omar Zuno, Clayton LaFed, Mark Yeager, Caleb Joy, Rich Toro Tari, Gavin Mayer Maldonado, Fergalaki, Max Vezquez, Jacob Rogers, Colton Newberry, Fixer Punk, Jim Egbers, Jeff Muzzy, Bagel Burrito, Cincy Alex, Joe Stenstrom, Adrian Sandoval, Chloe Sam 601, Colleen Cuts for Yook, Jennifer DeVoe, Big Bird Titty, Crawfish, and Bennett Bennington III, Alexia Benanti, Nietzsche, Big Booty Beatdown, Sam Maloney, Two-Headed Boy, Ben Shapiro's Boyfriend, Ted Cruz's Boy Toy, Dictator Jace, Luke O'Shea, Cucker Tarleson, Danielle Jackson, The Word of Microsoft, Jennifer Sines, Aaron and his Gundam Gundams, Darth Father, Taylor for Content, Corey Chambers, Ellie N, Devin Hatchard, Retro Mondo, Emma the Doot Slayer, Veronica aka V, Raxon, Smith, The Grotler, Flower Clown, Beetlebugs, Murder in a Trench Coat, Lonnie Rogers, Slavic and Sapphic, Casey Lynn Kelly, Snake Eyes, and Hope of Giants, AK Gon, Zach Lantian, Info Russell, Austin Greif, Marcus Corbett, Caleb Roper, Taylor Rensock, Cammy, Tylen Freeman, Tay, Isaac Hodges, Madeline C., Kayla Lowe, Anna Validic, KCC, Say Yes to Wes,
August, Particular Pikmin, Sir Capalot, Jeff Sines, Howard the Duck, Brennan It's Egg, JR, Drew Batchilder, Froggy Gumdrop, Jackie Boy, Shameless, Coherent Babble, Sasha, MJ Sharp, Michaela Muncie, The Wallace 3000, Jared Finch, Tactical Snowflake, Son of Ander, Vanilla Bryce, Chris T, Kishan Lala, Amanda R, Hanky Panky, Tyler J, Damian Blues, Ashley White, Particulon, Memfrez, Lauren, Unchrasmatic Boar, Sasquatch, Rhonda Stiletto, Midwest Marxist, Joe the Mailman, Gary from West Michigan, Shawnee GG, Juniper Not Jupiter, Stacked Crabs, I Crowley, Urban Pete's, Lord of Forlorn, Holt Forsyth, Kevin Kasaya, Schnoodle, Booty Snakes, Erica, Krusty Crab, Dew Fairy, Chelceratops, Austin Lima, Lane Waltz, Azim Feta Hussein, Gorgeous Girl Mukes, Brooklyn G, Noverk the Dastardly, Goldthorn, Addie Book, Merlin, John from Houston, Anaya, Kryal Bongi, That Art Dork, Sergeant Pookie, Connor Nix, Jordan T, Hoodie, Kim Kitsuragi, Rose Grimm, Kristen, Jamie the Young Extremist, Jack the Heathen, Archer W, Evan Mingo, AJ Torres, Elo Nico, Jake Hall, Seth Schmidt, Daniel Stock, Noah Sahas, Majuat, Ultra the Dragon, Mercy Boku, Dick Cheney and 6-Inch Heels, Luke Wechter, Henry Kraggles, Tristan Ringsmith? Let me know how to pronounce your name. Yeah. And my mom, thank you all so much for supporting the show on Patreon and getting us to this glorious moment in time.
That's what I'm saying, gang. It's pretty exciting. I do want to say before we sign off, Aaron and his Gundam Gundams, I immediately thought about you when I saw the Japanese tariffs. I know that, like, I operate in adjacent space. I collect also Bandai products. Gundams are expensive, and the fact that they're about to get 24% more expensive if in the customs form it's coming from Japan when Bandai ships their things to Bandai America, that's fucked up. That's fucked up, dog, and I'm right there with you. I feel it. In solidarity, let me tell you.
We need to band together.
That's right.
And hope that we can weather this storm. And folks, more hit will come in your way.
More hit will come in your way. Have a great week.
See you next week.
Folks.